veil has lifted.
To the Summoners Cup, Fnatic will advance the semi-finals. The only team to do that 3 times.
12 have fallen. Only the intrepid remain. Victory is on the horizon. To live through mastery or die by fate.
SKT definitely looks like the best team right now. It's the best team, like being the underdog, because you have no pressure.
Can we bring to fall the giants?
The only thing that can happen now is that we prove them wrong.
피키 선수가 워낙 옛날부터 오래 온 게이머고 굉장히 지금까지 하는 것만 봐도 성실히 오래 했다는 거에 반증이라고 생각하니까 많이 경계를 하고 있어요.
It is weird to prepare for 2 different guys. Especially at first I was thinking it would be Faker.
물론 제가 뛰고 싶은 건 맞지만 사실 지훈이 형이 나가도 크게 상관은 없어요. 지지만.
If it ends up working out and I end up doing good against Isihun, they can just swap him for Faker in the next game.
사실 페케 선수가 좀 예전부터 오랜 경험을 쌓아 오셨기 때문에 저희 둘 상대로도 1대1도 거뜬하실 것 같다고 생각합니다.
At season 1 I felt we had the level to take it. This one is almost the same. I don't feel like it's just gonna be hard because they are better than us. I feel it can go either way, and that's the hard part about it.
Telecom destroy AHQ's Nexus and are 1 step closer to the Summoners Cup.
Welcome to the 2015 League of Legends World Championship semifinals. Of the 16 teams from around the globe that entered the tournament, only 4 remain in pursuit of the Summoners Cup. Now you're getting a look at Brussels Expo in Belgium, which will play host this week as the teams do battle with their eyes on the finals. And just a little bit ago, fans were lined up and ready to storm the arena to cheer on SKT and Origen. We've got a few cosplayers in the house with Yasuo and Lulu leading the charge. And here you're getting a sneak peek at our combatants. SK Telecom warming up in their locker room just a short time ago. They'll be facing off against Europe's Origen. Both teams looking to advance to Berlin. And that best of 5 is just moments away. Hello everyone, I'm James Dash Patterson, coming to you live from the heart of Belgium, where I'm joined by coach for Europe's H2K, Neil Prawley Hamad, OGN shoutcaster Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels, and the NALCS's own Joshua Jat Leesman. Welcome to the semifinals, gentlemen. We made it.
Yeah, we did. And so did everyone in this venue. This place looks amazing.
That they did. So much energy in this building, as you can tell already. People are ready for the games to start, for some fun to be had. Now, the Analyst desk has hit the road for our last 2 weeks and has joined the rest of the team to cover all the action here on the ground. Warming up at the caster booth for our first series today is Freak, Crepo, and Kobe. And we're not the only ones that made the trip across the North Sea. Our partners from China and Korea's OGN are here as well to bring the coverage of this weekend's games to the far corners of the globe. Now, of course, it's time to pull up the bracket and see how today's semifinalists made it to the penultimate stage of Worlds 2015. We'll start with Origen, who surprised many with their run-through groups and followed that with a solid victory over the Flash Wolves last week.
Yeah, Origen has been playing great this entire time, defying many of the expectations. Remember, most people didn't even see Origen coming out of the group stage, yet time and time again, when the decisive moments of the games happen, Origen are the ones coming out on top.
And even though they don't usually have a gold lead early in the game, they've shown through some intelligent use of globals, teleports, that they can make big comebacks in a lot of their games and really stand with a lot of teams in the late game phase.
And of course, they're going to be going up against Korea's SK Telecom, who have yet to drop a game throughout the entire tournament. They look strong as ever, gentlemen.
I have no clue who's actually going to stop SKT, but I really hope it starts now.
Yeah, well, there's a chance they could be the best team in the history of the World Championships. They are currently undefeated, and no one has gone undefeated the entire way through. We thought maybe Samsung White could do it last year. They played so fast and so clean in many of their games, but they had those minor slip-ups. Maybe that's the story for SKT this year.
Still plenty of games to find that out. Now, at the end of the day, only one team will stand as Origen and SKT go head-to-head in today's best of 5. It's important to note that because of a bug with his Q, Gragas has been disabled for the remainder of the tournament, along with Lux and Ziggs. Now, for more information and the full context of the disable, load up lolesports.com. And as we close in on the finals, we want to give you some insider knowledge from the analyst joining us on the desk. So tweet your questions about the tournament at LoleSports with the hashtag AskTheDesk, and we'll run them by our European, Korean, and North American experts later today. And before we kick things off here in Brussels, we want to take a few moments to acknowledge an integral member of our team who's come home to cover the World Championship. To some, she's Effie de Portra, but to many, she's simply known as Sjokz.
After 4 years, I still like watching League of Legends the most out of everything. You just sit there and you have all the fans there, and I'm just the same. I'm like shouting when a pentacle happens. I'm excited when a backdoor happens. And every time that happens, I also still realize, whoa, this is so what I want to do. I can't imagine doing anything else. It's fantastic to be in Belgium. We are in the Abdijtuin, or the Abbey Garden. It's actually one of my favorite places here in Ghent, where I went to university. I was very much attracted to the history side of everything, so I decided to do history for 4 years. Over the course of those 4 years, I actually discovered that I liked to be a sports reporter a lot more. There was the World Cup, football was on the first year in university. I watched every single game of the Football World Cup, and that made me really realize, whoa, I love this more than I love anything else. So I also got a degree in journalism. Somehow I fell into watching League of Legends, and I stumbled upon a broadcast of IEM. It was kind of like it was an epitome that I was watching, and I was like, whoa, this is so competitive and cool, and this is this game that I've been playing for months and months. I'm gonna try and use what I learned and write about League of Legends. At that point, I had no idea what was about to come. I grew to like being on camera, I think. I have a lot of mannerisms that I didn't know that I had until I watched myself on camera. When I watch it back then, I just feel like I was very awkward, and I didn't really know how to present myself. I talk very fast, I still do. I started to like it along the way, and now it feels super natural. And it's awesome that now it feels that way, but it wasn't that from the beginning. Sometimes takes a turn for the worse when people judge you on a lot of things that have nothing to do with the actual job description. And the one that hurts the most always is people that are like, the only reason why you're here is because you're a girl and you happen to look half decent. I want to pull that person to the screen and say, have you any idea how hard we all work? And I don't work less hard. Like, I do just as much. And you just diminish me to just being a lady, a woman, a girl, whatever you want to call it. That is just, ugh. I love when they say, wow, you looked great today, your dress was awesome. Yay, good, but did you also like that interview? Did you think that should I ask that question differently? What should I do? I want someone to watch me and, okay, they might think, hey, there's a girl doing interviews, but then I want them to listen and think, wow, okay, she's doing a good job. This is what I wanted to hear from this player. And it's such a process because there's so much more factors that go into it. And the first thing that's important is making the player feel good and feel safe and feel confident to say what he wants to say. A lot of times people always think that, oh, you just burned this player or whatever, but most of the time that's because I've built a connection up with them over the years, or I've talked to them behind the scenes and I know how far I can go and I can't go and what would work. And sometimes it falls flat, but I'd like to think that they respect me now for what I do. I think the most favorite interview that I've done has most recently been the Dyrus interview because it was one of a kind. And I was quite nervous because I had thought about what to ask him and I had different things. Okay, you know, what do you think is going to happen to TSM after? What's all of this? And then when it just happened, I just realized, no, just let him. He obviously wants to say something and he'll be great at it. So why don't I just give him the openest question possible, like show him that he can be calm and be himself. And then I got caught completely off guard.
I'm really sorry to all of my fans that I let you down.
It was very overwhelming, but the only thing I was like, I don't want to cry and have people look at me when I'm crying. Now, I don't care if I look bad. I want them to listen to him because this is his moment. And I feel like 2 years ago, I might have screwed that up completely and just been too nervous or said the wrong thing. And I felt really, really happy that I could navigate that, and I felt that that moment that we created was really special.
There is nothing left to say. You have influenced the lives of so many people, and you will continue to do that. Thank you so much for willing to do this. And one more time for Dyrus, his incredible career, and the fact that he was willing to talk to us here.
I definitely feel, I know that I'm something that some girls have actually written to me, and men as well, said, wow, I look up to the fact that you're a woman in this business. And it's not something that I want to get hung up on and think about all the time, but I think that through my actions, I've been a good example, because for me, it's always been about loving this game, working as hard as possible, and hopefully showing people that I care, and not that I'm there just to be on camera or whatever. As I said, it's great that people say you looked great, you were wearing a great dress, and of course it makes me feel good, but it makes me feel 100 times better if a girl comes up to me at a live event and says, you are an inspiration to me, I love what you do, I think you're a great example, I want to do what you do. That means so much.
And now it's time to head down to Sjokz on stage to introduce us to today's semifinalists.
Welcome everybody to Brussels Expo! Hallo iedereen, bonjour tout le monde. Please join me in welcoming our two semi-finalist participants for our game today. Starting with on the blue side from Korea's LCK and the Season 3 World Champions, SK Telecom T1.
SK Telecom destroy AHQ's Nexus and are one step closer to the Summoners Cup.
In the top lane, Maren. In the jungle, Bengi. The starting mid laner, Easy Hoon. At AD carry, Bang. On support, Wolf. the substitute Faker. Their coach, Koma. Once again for SK Telecom T1. And now their opponents on the red side of Summoner's Rift from the European League Championship Series, Origen. In the top lane, it's Soaz. In the jungle, Amazing. Holding the mid lane, SKT. At AD carry, Niels. His support, Mithy. Their sub, Aranea. And finally, the coach, Hermit. Give it up one more time for Origen. Ladies and gentlemen, one last time, our semi-finalist, SKT and OG.
Now there they are, the two teams in the first of our battles between Korea and Europe, SKT and Origen. The energy in this building is massive. There's very clearly a fan favorite in this arena, though.
You could say that. It's Europe versus Korea round one.
I think it's safe to say. It is round one. We'll have round two tomorrow. Now, as the teams take their places on stage, let's look at how these two stack up. Comparing their average gold difference from all of their games at Worlds, it really is a tale of two different teams.
Yeah, and a lot of this comes from SKT being undefeated, but it does go to show how badly they have been beating their opponents and how Origen has been grinding out wins in a lot of close or deficit-filled games. Even at the 25-minute mark, Origen still doesn't average a gold lead.
And that also is deceptive because we look at their average game time of 42 minutes. Their wins are even longer than their average game time. So this is a team that's been taking a long time to actually grind out those victories and staying kind of a little bit below their opponents for most of the game when it comes to the gold score.
Two play styles that are sure to clash here today. Now, it's important also to note that Easy Hoon is subbing in for Faker in the mid lane. So, my question to you guys is, how does this affect the dynamic of that mid lane matchup against SKT?
Well, I think from what we've seen so far, I'm not going to sit here and justify starting Easy Hoon. He's a wonderful player, but then there's also Faker. I think maybe the logic here is that Easy Hoon likes to play control mages, which we've seen a lot from SKT so far, teleporting back into the mid lane consistently, just playing a more passive style in the laning phase. So SKT may be just trying to beat Origen at their own game. They say, all right, if you're going to play teleport, we can't kill you with Faker in the laning phase. Well, maybe we'll play a control mage and just scale with you and then win in late game team fights.
Yeah, I think the school of thought really has to be we just want to play the way Origen does. We don't really want to snowball the early game. We don't want to snowball the mid lane. We just want to focus on side lanes, let mid lane go even. But I do think Faker would be the better choice here. Yes, you can play their style and probably beat them at it, but putting in Faker you can still play that style that SKT has been. It doesn't really force you to play differently. The one gambit you get from playing Faker is now you have every single counter pick in the game. He's going to play everything mid against Anivia. Are you kidding me? He's going to play like ridiculous things. And I think that's what Faker would be giving to the team.
And if we're trying to justify this move from SKT's standpoint, I think a lot of it comes back to what they were doing at the spring split and at MSI. They have said the team has slightly better cohesion with EasyHoon at times. He demands less pressure from the rest of the team. And in games where EasyHoon plays, often you see more attention spent on Bang and on Marn. And with the way Marn has been performing so far, there's a chance they're just going for that play.
And of course, there's always the possibility of a swap back sometime during the series. But we speak about pressure and how EasyHoon in the mid lane might allow for more pressure elsewhere on the map. I feel like we then have to turn to the junglers and look at these two, particularly given the fact that Gragas is off the table today. What are we looking at?
This is really interesting, because if we look at total jungle picks so far at Worlds, Elise has been played 38 times, Gragas and Rek'Sai 29 each, Lee Sin below them at 14, and then Evelyn's been played 3 times. And it's actually quite easy to pinch you down to that list of junglers only being played 3 times. So we could see some weird junglers today.
And interestingly enough, 2 of those 3 games were played by one from Bengi and one from Amazing coming into this match. So I think that this is actually very favorable for SK Telecom. And the reason why is that you have Bengi, who's a player who, when we know him as a very strong pathing jungler. It's about his intelligence on where to be at the exact right time and getting that vision down so his lanes can really play aggressively, especially up and top, and not so much with EasyHoon, but usually in mid. So when we're switching back to a more passive style of jungling, I think this really just falls right into Bengi's wheelhouse, and on champions like Evelyn and like Nunu, he can be successful.
Well, I think the biggest advantage that this kind of gives to you is not just SKT, but any blue side team right now. Because at the moment, you get to choose what purple side bans. They have to ban Mordekaiser Gangplank. That's going to happen. But now, if you third ban Rek'Sai, there's no longer a chance for you to just leave up Elise and Gragas and play those 2. You have to follow that up with an Elise ban. So you no longer can ban out Azir. You can no longer ban out this like Tom Kinch annoying kind of bot lane stuff. So it really forces blue side. Like, do we want to leave up both junglers, or do we want to ban junglers?
Yeah, well, I will say, if they're going to be doing that, you have to put a pretty big investment in, especially against Amazing, because I think his Lee Sin, even though he hasn't played it much, is probably his best champion, and it's his most played historically, especially if you look at solo queue. It's what he likes to play, and it's an aggressive style. So you have to be willing to throw probably 2 bans as well as a first pick if you actually do want to be able to take the Lee Sin away from him.
And another good reason to play, for example, EasyHoon, is he is one of the best Azir players in the world. He's better than Faker at Azir. He's better than Faker at Twisted Fate. And if usually how teams deal with EasyHoon in the lineup is with bans. They have 3 red side games. I don't know if they're going to be able to deal with EasyHoon's champion pool very easily.
Yep, it's a large one to say the least. Now it's time to move to the top lane, which has been the trend of the tournament. We have 2 guys in the top lane here who have proven at times that they can carry. However, on a game-to-game basis, Marin has been the picture of consistency, Soaz has stumbled at times.
And I think a lot of it just comes down to the safety in which you play aggressive. SKT has been able to cover the map better with wards than Origen, but Soaz is playing just as greedy as Marin is. He just doesn't have knowledge of when he's going to be counter-ganked. Origen had the lowest number of green wards in the first 15 minutes, and Soaz would end up dying because he's playing like he has the vision control, whereas Marin's been able to get the backup from the rest of his team. I think that leads to the consistency.
Yeah, the one weakness Marin has always had, though, is sometimes he's very vulnerable to level 3 ganks. He has been known to not drop his trinket ward at the right time and fall prey to some very predictable ganks in the early game, so that may be a strategy that we see Origen try to use here. Because if you get Marin to the late game, like Jat's saying, totally agree, he'll get the wards down. Whereas Soaz, he tends to overextend, get greedy for farm, and die. So attack Marin early has usually been a successful strategy.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's going to be weird for Origen, because a lot of the time you think Soaz is greedy because he doesn't have the jungler to back him up during that. He's not farming like without any reason. It's like, well, I need to farm this or I'm going to be really out of the game. So if Origen wants to push the jungler away from the bot lane, which they have been doing, is putting it bot lane, then I think Soaz can fix his like consistency problem, because I don't think it's like on him alone.
I was about to.
It's a team thing, for sure. Yeah,
and that's why I think it's very
game.
interesting that we point out Bengi has the earliest sidestone buy of any jungler on average in this tournament, and that could be where a lot of that safety is coming from in the top lane. Want to move to the bottom half of the map now. We've got to look at the AD carries. We have the rookie Niels going up against the KDA King here at Worlds. Bang.
This is a great matchup. I mean, I think part of the reason Niels has had so much success is because of the pressure Amazing has been giving Mithy and the rest of that bottom lane down there. Niels has the highest CS differential at 10 minutes of any AD carry still in this tournament, and he also has the highest kill participation, meaning they're pretty much waiting for Niels to do work before the team does anything. And the solo laners are either farming on their own, trying to stay alive, or just teleporting down to help Niels. It's will be very fun to see whether or not Bang neutralizes that.
And we saw, I mean, too, the question is, will that KDA stick around? But in order to determine that, I want to look at their better halves in the bot lane, the supports, Mithy, and Wolf.
I think this is honestly an advantage towards Mithy this game, although the support pool is kind of shrinking, in my opinion. I think top-tier supports are becoming really, really obvious, so I don't think the skill differential will matter that much. I think this is kind of like, as well as Mithy and Wolf can work with their jungler, that's going to be the most important thing, and not necessarily how they play in laning phase.
Well, we also saw at least the Tahm Kench come out for SK Telecom in the quarterfinals. That was really the one sort of new pick we saw from the team. They ended up playing it very well, and it worked out. So now we know that Wolf has that in his arsenal of support champions, and he can continue to be a threat on that particular pick, where we didn't really know that particular thing before.
Yeah, and even if we look at the champion pools, like Mithy, if the support pool is shrunk or if he's going for some wider picks, because he has the most unique champions played. He's tied with a lot of different players at Worlds at 7 here, and only one other support, Gorilla, has played 7 different supports. These two supports actually share 5 of the same picks. And I actually think Wolf doesn't have as much champion versatility. If it's probably unlikely because the way the jungle picks are going to be probably targeted with bans and the width of the champion pools in mid lane. But if the support pool does get targeted a little bit, I think it gives Mithy an edge because he seems to be able to play a lot more than Wolf.
All right, we've covered the map, top, jungle, mid, AD carry, and support. With all of this in mind, it's time to move to the predictions, gentlemen. Who is going to be the first team to claim a spot in the 2015 World Championship Finals? Probably we're starting with you.
I don't want to betray my European brethren right now, but I will have to say SKT. And sorry, you asked for my prediction.
You can't boo him. He admitted that he was going to betray you before he did it.
Yeah, I prepped the bandage before I tore it off. But if we look at Origen during Summer Split, they had really aggressive early games, mid games, and certain analysts would judge their late games because they never really play them out very correctly. Now we're looking at Origen and they're completely different. They actually play pretty slow mid game. They don't really snowball hard, and they actually play a really consistent mid-late game where they just drag out the game, which is now SKT's style they're good at. And I think this is what's bad for them right now.
Now on to the man with the chainmail SKT tie. I can only
Monty's
assume where we're going here, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, it's, I mean, I think this prediction is pretty ironclad like my tie, so I'm going to have to go with SK Telecom T1 here. Well, you can boo me as much as you want.
It's actually a chainmail tie.
It actually is a chainmail tie, ladies and gentlemen.
And, one thing that I wanted to talk about, too, is, Spawn's not on the desk today, unfortunately, to give his prediction. So what I have is this €1 coin, which is about the same accuracy as Spawn. So we're going to get his prediction right now, the little coin flip. And he is going to head, so SK Telecom. So given his track record, I guess that means Origen wins.
All right, there it is. There should be cheers in the crowd right now.
Yeah. Well, you guys go with SKT. The coin goes with SKT. I will say Origen. Listen. SKT has had the easiest road of any team here at Worlds. If you look at the other teams in their group, H2K, Bangkok Titans, also their quarterfinal opponent against HQ, where they almost lost a game to HQ. They gave up 4 dragons, if not for the Baron. Which is why I think Origen 1-3, they can win a single game, and my prediction for this year's is actually SKT, 3-1.
The switcheroo, ladies and gentlemen. That's something you boo right there. All right, well, we'll find out as Origen and SKT are about to hit the rift. But before we get to the casters, Sjokz is standing by for a word with one of the Season 3 World Champions looking to reclaim the Summoners Cup.
Thank you very much, guys, indeed. Joined here by Faker. And well, Faker, I did want to talk to you for a quick minute because you're not starting in Game 1, such an important game on the road to the Summoners Cup. You've said, as long as we win, it doesn't matter. But what is it like knowing that your team is about to play this game and you're not?
페이커 선수가 이전 인터뷰에서 비록 경기를 뛰지 않더라도 팀이 이기면 괜찮다라고 얘기하셨는데 이제 이렇게 중요한 경기에 후보로 경기를 안 뛰는 것에 대한 심정이 어떠신가요?
우선 저는 제가 뛰는 것을 좋아하지만 그렇지만 지훈이 형이 뛰어도 저는 믿을만하다고 생각하고 또 제가 먼저 뛰지 않음으로 인해서 제가 좀 마음이 편해져서 좋은 점도 있는 것 같아요.
Even though I enjoy playing at the desk, but I trust Easyhoon as my teammate, and because I'm not playing for the first game, I'm kind of relieved, so it goes well like that.
Okay, well, a lot has been said about the differences between you and Easyhoon and your playstyles, but what, in your eyes, is the most important difference?
많은 사람들이 페이커 선수랑 이진 선수 간의 차이가 있다고 하는데 페이커 선수 생각하시기엔 어떤 차이점이 가장 큰가요?
우선 지훈 형은 몇 가지 챔피언을 저보다 더 잘 다루고 그렇지만 저는 폭넓게 쓸 수 있는 그런 장점이 있는 것 같고 또한 플레이 스타일도 게임 내에서 지훈 형이 라인전에서 저보다 더 강하게 압박하고 그런 점이 다른 것 같아요.
So I think the biggest difference is our champion pool. Easyhoon is really focused on the few champions and he's better than me at those. But I think I have a wider champion range. And at the lane phase also, I think Easyhoon puts more pressure on the opponent than I do.
Well, still in this matchup, you guys are huge favorites against Origen, but Origen have the crowd behind them as well. Faker, how is it going to turn out?
지금 많은 팬들이 여기서 오리진 팀을 응원하고 있는데 페이커 선수 생각하시기에 이번 경기 결과가 어떻게 될 거라 예상하시나요?
여기가 유럽이기 때문에 제가 오리진이 이긴다고 하면은 큰 호응을 받을 수 있겠지만 그렇지만 저는 SKT이기 때문에 SKT가 3대 0으로 이긴다에 걸겠습니다.
Okay, since we're here at Europe, I think the crowd would like me to say Origen, but since I'm an SKT man, I would say SKT would win 3-0.
All right. Well, thank you very much. That was it from Faker, and I think it's about time that we get into the game. Let's head over to our casters.
Merci beaucoup, Sjokz. Bonjour et bienvenue, mesdames et messieurs. I am David Freak Turley. I am here with two wonderful co-casters, Sam Kobe, Hartman Kensler, and Mitch Krepo Vorspools. As a man who can speak the language, how did my French do there?
Your French was
passable?
Painfully average.
Painfully average, so much like
Just
your
like your
casting, we're ready to go.
Holy
We've
moly,
got
all
the
right.
jokes
Good thing I'm in the
already.
middle.
Yeah, you can moderate for us. So guys, we've heard the analyst predictions here. It's like a net 12-1 in SKT's favor. Certainly a difficult match for Origen here, so what do you think is going to happen here, maybe to cause the upset or for that 3-0 avalanche people are expecting?
I think SKT is just going to take it clean 3-0. The only way Origen has really won these games is with like this massive late game, really good shot calling, but you don't need that because the game's over by the time you can actually do that against SKT.
We can all agree that this game is going to be a lot about multiple points of pressure on the map at the same time. And because of that, you know, that's one of the reasons why I actually think they're using Easyhoon. Yeah, there's a lot of talk about Easyhoon's Azir, and rightfully so, but his Twisted Fate pick is so important versus something like Origen. Faker's actually only had one Twisted Fate game in all of Season 5, and it was one of SKT's rare losses. Whereas Easyhoon, I've been spying on him, and he's played a lot of it in solo queue. It's one of those champions that he has been focusing on. I think it's a really good pick, specifically against Origen, where you know there's going to be so much about map movements, and using a champion that can traverse that much distance that quickly is very important.
Yeah, both these teams have an incredibly similar style in the mid game, which revolves around not grouping up at all and just splitting up and pushing all lanes at once, 1-3-1 or 1-2-1 with a roaming jungler in between, and that's generally what SKT like to do. Origen, they play the same version, they just play it worse. They peel off a lot sooner, and they make these tiny mistakes, and they give up the pressure that SKT is so good at putting. In addition to that, SKT just managed to get ahead every single game at 10-20 minutes, whereas Origen, they're struggling.
And it's unfortunate. It's been people kind of overextending for things they're not supposed to get. We heard Jat talk about the lack of wards early game from Origen. Monte Cristo talks about how the fact that Bengi is always in the right place at the right time and picking off these overextended members. So it seems like the general holding pattern keeps looking SKT's way.
I do have, well, that brings up one more prediction I have. I think that Thresh and Tom Kench are going to be the two most important support picks for these two teams because of that factor of everyone's going to be spread out so much, and supports that are able to save someone who's extending in a lane, who's trying to push the wave and gain that map pressure advantage. Those are going to be two really key picks.
Yeah, definitely key picks. In addition to that, Alistar is just going to be a really high priority pick for Wolf because unlike Mythy and Amazing, they really roam together as a pairing, both on the same screen together. Bengi and Wolf, they kind of split up one by one, and it's a lot easier to play that way if you have Alistar.
Alistar is a strong, independent support.
Strong, independent support. Need no jungler near him. Exactly. That's the way they like to play, but obviously it can change against an opponent. They obviously have prepared for each other. Especially level 1, I want to see if Origen has actually found a weakness, because there's a distinct weakness in one of the level 1s.
Don't give away too much.
That SKT runs. I'm just waiting to see it happen, hopefully, because we're getting into the game pretty soon.
Yeah, Champ Select has begun here. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are into game 1 of the semifinals as Champion Select has begun. And my big question is exactly how locked up are Origen's bans? There are some red side teams who will put all the bans themselves. They'll ban Mordekaiser and Gangplank. And there are some that are happy to share the burden with the blue side team and leave it for the very end. We see that GP actually banned by SKT here.
SKT's ban pattern usually goes as follows on blue side. They ban one of the OPs, which is considered Gangplank or Mordekaiser. They have 7 Mordekaiser bans this entire tournament already, the most out of any team. And then they target ban a certain player twice. So usually you would see in this trend, it would be support ban coming out third to try and pinch that champion pool.
Yeah, this is actually a little wrinkle here in the second ban being Gangplank. I was thinking that it was going to be Mordekaiser because they've done that so often, but they do as well have 3 Gangplank bans.
And this is already interesting from Origen, because every single blue side game, SKT has first picked the jungler. The jungler's always ended up being Elise, but Origen have already pushed upon themselves 2 jungle bans, and they either have to lock up, actually no, they're not even going to ban Mordekaiser themselves, so SKT actually giving breathing room to Origen, who are banning Lulu off there.
That could be at least pick here instantly off the bat from Bengi. Would be weird.
I don't feel the need, since both Elise and Rek'Sai are banned out now, and Gragas, of course, is globally banned, to early pick that jungler there for SKT. Bang has been one of the most feared Kallistas in the entire world. It was a huge talking point at MSI, and he proved his point there.
There we go. We see the next priority champions coming across there. The Alistair that we thought might go to Wolf, taken away as quickly as possible by Mithy. Of course, the Kalista stolen away by Marin.
I think it's a good luck in here. Both these champions take a lot of power away from SKT because they're so smart at playing this split push style. If you add an invisible jungler in between that in the mid game, it's almost impossible to play against a team of SKT1's caliber with an Evelynn. Also, again, the Alistair is a clear steal away from Wolf.
We'll see what's next up on the docket there. Bengi already locks in the Jarvan. Of course, we have seen him play top as well as in the jungle. The Shen also could be a top laner or a support.
The Shen pick I actually really like, even though we haven't seen it from Wolf, because we talked about champions that can move across the map really quickly are going to be very important in this matchup. It's going to be all about multiple points of map pressure. Shen adds that no matter if he's in a support role or from the top lane role, because if he's in the support role, then he can actually use level 6 teleport up to the top lane and try and snowball Marin, who's been the king for SKT.
Yeah, and it definitely suits Wolf's playstyle in the mid game. What he does, he just goes into the lane that is the weakest matchup in terms of lane control and pushing, and he tries to amend that. Now with Shen, not only can he be in that lane to fix that wave clear deficit or just pressure deficit, he can also ulti to either side lane if he chooses to be in the mid lane or just anywhere on the map. So much pressure coming out for that split push style here for SKT T1.
So Origen to lock in the next couple of champions here. Xpeke not actually going to yet lock in that Victor. And there we go, it's going to be the champion for him. So it's going to leave SKT to, as usual, last pick in their mid lane. This Kennen, of course, can be a flex pick. Niels may have picked it up from Reckless in the last couple of weeks, or could still go to SOAS. And Origen will look for matchups before flexing that around.
SKT right now, I'm really curious what they want to combo with Jarvan. They already have one champion who can create terrain on the team. Hovering over
two more.
Yeah, Nivea. Yeah, exactly. 2 more champions. They could just create their own battlefield. Try and work with here.
Technically, Jarvan can end up being top lane.
It could be a solo lane, could even be mid. It's not really an easy hoon.
Could also just be an entirely different play style. SKT may just want to play a group team fight style because we keep talking about split push, split push, split push, but for all we know, they may just want to group up early and just keep going for those objectives because they're so fantastic at securing a lot of these dragons too, as opposed to a lot of other teams.
And on Origen side, they do technically also have that Kennen as flex as well, so not giving away too much there for the top lane matchup.
This lineup looks like the lineup for SKT right here. The Azir and Fiora. Marin has been an absolutely immaculate Fiora player so far this World Championship. We mentioned it before. EasyHoo known for his Azir, maybe the very best in the world, which means it is jungle Jarvan, it is support Shen, and now Origen flex the lineup.
Yeah, this does make the Kennen a lot more valuable in the top lane. A pretty good matchup right there, keeping your distance against the Fiora, always to stun her if she comes at you. You can prevent her from proccing that ultimate, definitely so. with your own, and then it puts Niels in an 80 carry heavy position though, because you're running double AP with very little peel.
Especially good pick with an Evelynn jungle. If Kennen gets jungle help against Fiora, somebody has to bail Fiora out or she gets relegated to the jungle. If there's any jungle intervention there and Kennen gets a leg up, it's very, very oppressive.
And keep in mind that if you're in a lane swap as well, it's not exactly easy for Fiora to get denied farm early on. Kennen, of course, plenty of utility on the kit, can do something while starved. And Origen to make their last choice for what looks like AD carry.
Yeah, SKT in the last 6 games have sent their bot lane bot every single time and Marin to the top lane, so lane swap is actually not that likely, so maybe if Origen can use this information, they can find the favorable lanes.
The SKT lineup, though, looking really well-rounded to me. They have multiple split push options. They've got late game secured with Azir, and they have Kalista to carry them through mid. So very versatile setup here from SKT. Coming into a game 1 of a best of 5, this is the type of lineup that you are looking for. You know, kind of be able to defend against any strategy.
And yeah, early push in the mid lane too. Azir just spamming those soldiers down. Victor needs a little bit of time before he can really start challenging that wave clear with the E. Need a couple of upgrades there on that spell. So early push from Easy, who maybe Bengi can help Marin in the top lane to help that matchup. And then Kalista Shen should do fine into almost any matchup, especially against melee support. So SKT setting up for their signature style already.
And I want to see what happens then to Amazing here in the jungle. If Evelynn doesn't get a lot of help, that champion does get low while clearing camps and whatnot. And you talked about EasyHoon pushing up, the dual lane looking good. Bengi can be very aggressive, and jumping into that Origen jungle and pushing down Amazing, certainly a possibility here for SKT.
Yeah, I actually think that SKT may look for the lane swap here. You know, maybe trying to avoid not only the Fiora Kennen, but also the Kalista plus Shen.
All right, well, we'll see what these matchups end up being. Brussels is here to cheer on their favorite teams. You guys at home are always part of the conversation as well. Guys, let us know who it's going to be. Tweet at LoL Esports, hashtag SKT if you go with the analyst desks, or hashtag OG if you go with the home crowd. But we are here to find out which of these two teams will send a player to their second World Championship final, the chance at their second World Championship. And here we go, game 1 of the semifinals. South Korea's SK Telecom T1 versus Europe's Origen. And here we go.
All right. Now that we get the scenic route here with those banners.
Take notes, guys. It's no team has gotten to see that close into SKT's base the entire time here at Worlds. They have not even given up a tier 2 turret. See if Origen can take one from them.
All right. Looks like a bit of an invade here from SKT, forcing out Soaz, and this is different because usually the one point of weakness in any SKT game start has been the top left side of the map, where then Bengi and Marin would start duo jungling without a ward. SKT have been incredibly greedy with their trinket usage early, but right now it does look like Kobe was on the money with his lane swap call.
They have gotten a little bit of an early advantage there as well, forcing Soaz to level up Lightning Rush. No matter where you start, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult.
Not a happy place for him, but meanwhile, Peke and EasyHoon have actually already done battle. EasyHoon is missing some health, so Peke has dealt 100% of the damage in this game. Beautiful start.
Good job, Bree.
Former world champion.
Not only does it work well in terms of matchups, getting Marin out of that sticky cannon situation, it also just doesn't really help Evelynn at all being in a lane swap. She really wants standard lanes to be unpredictable and go multiple directions and surprise people. Right now, if you're locked into a lane swap, you're duo jungling for a very long time. The map is nicely split in half, so as a jungler, I'm sure you know more about that, Kobe.
I do think it's also a good split start here from SKT. They start in 2 quadrants at the same time. A lot of vision down there. Making sure that Origen are not starting on that side. Has Shen leveled up the taunt yet?
Yeah, he has taunt already. Wants to push into Peke, but with the wave already pushing, there's nothing that EasyHoon can do here, so nothing much done. He keeps his team safe. Origen did start aggressively in the bottom jungle. Bengi and Marin will react and perform similarly.
I mean, it looks like we're just head on track for just the EU-style lane swap where both teams do a double quadrant clear, send 3 people top, jungler keeps jungling, and the wave gets bounced towards their top laner. Just need to see if SKT don't make the mistake they did earlier in one of the HQ games where they left the tower alive for a very short period.
Yeah. Also, because of that sort of split start that I was actually complimenting from SKT, they're behind They actually were not rewarded for the attempt at a mid lane gank and a mid lane pressure, and that means that Origen are a few seconds ahead here on the early tower take, a bit quicker in the jungle. They've sent Amazing back to their own quadrant as well, which is very safe for him to farm, so they can take down this turret while Amazing continues to get experience in the top.
To make up some of that turret damage, though, you're going to see that SKT have brought all 4 of those players to the top side as Bengi just finishes off the Krugs. CZ does not need to be part of this fight at all, and it will be the 3-man take, but I don't believe this will be stopped by anyone, so it should be an equivalent turret trade.
Yeah, you just got to see what they do in phase 2 of the lane swap. Little adaptation here from Origen. The gold does not go to Sjokz. It does become a bounce here by Niels. He has killed E, so he can't freeze this wave. But usually what you see is the next step in his evolution. Instead of freezing this for extended periods of time, you just push it back towards the people that come to defend it. So,
yeah, this does signal to me, though, that they want to try and continue knocking down all the outer turrets with Tristana, get her rotating around, and keep up this early sort of map control lead that they do have. Sjokz is going to be the obvious one that will take a hit because of this strategy. Marin just got the local gold all to himself for that turret.
yeah, they're just going to move their bot lane to the top lane, force Marin to walk and teleport bot 2 because they're basically doing a fake out right here. They're saying, oh great, we have Sjokz here, come gank us, we have an invisible Evelynn, then the bot lane will show up. And they move away from that play all of a sudden because Niels, he ran mid and bottom all of a sudden. So this is something we see way too often from Origen. They go in for a play, hesitate, and switch it up.
Well, also, I mean, Evelyn's invisible, but Alistar is not. And Mythi was trailing and walked over a ward. So, Marin not going to take that bait.
It is worth seeing the lane assignments, though. So Origen have sent their dual lane back down to the bottom sides. They're not content to continue trading turrets. This is, I think, why they gave solo gold to Niels. He got a pickaxe plus a potion on his recall versus the longsword of Bang. So item-wise, Origen's dual lane is ahead.
They're probably just trying to secure the matchup. If they send 4 top, they can keep Niels there. If the matchup ends up being the bot lane, send Sjokz bot with teleport to find Marin. If he is not there, Niels just pass back to the bot lane, and Sjokz can stay top with his teleport. So it looks like Origen's just wanted to find that 1v1 Ken Fiora matchup.
And let me touch on both junglers here, because both junglers have only been setting up for counter ganks here. Both junglers have just been waiting for the first move of the other team. Amazing trailing top because they thought that Sjokz would be the target since he was their weak member. Meanwhile, SKT, they were trailing behind Bang there because that's the extended lane. That's where they did not have a turret. And you would expect the obvious move from an Evelynn who is invisible, go attack the SKT members that are in the long lane, try and chase them out and get one of those cheap early kills. Neither team going for those riskier early plays though, and the counters just sort of nullify each other.
So right now, with the less risks happening, you can see the early recall from Bang. He needed a vamp protector for the lane to even be acceptable. So a small lead for Origen thanks to the dual lane advantage, temporary though it may be. Meanwhile, of course, Marin is winning the top lane with a pink ward already down. Bangi is unseen coming in here.
Sjokz has been playing really, really safe though, and since he is Kennen, he can CS from range, plus he has his own lightning rush. We know he leveled it up early. Also has a ward. Does get hit though, he's slowed.
And he's missing a turret, so here comes Bangi. He's gonna flash for the slow, which means Sjokz has to burn it preemptively, and he guesses right. Bangi goes the wrong way, Sjokz goes back in onto Marin, and the stun is still available. The Q comes in, gets some damage down, but where's his team gonna be? There's no one around right now. He's still running away through the wards. Pops summoner teleport, and the is a god!
So many mind games to go over there first. Sjokz tries to juke out both members with his awkward flash, the angle that you would not expect him to go. He only got one member tricked there, and Marin actually stayed and intelligently held onto his flash, but Sjokz goes for the teleport instantly inside the brush, and it just barely pays off. Half a second too short there for Bangi with the knockup.
But this was a paid straight out of SKT's playbook. Whenever towers go down, they really want to get Bangi to gank the tower that has gone down in the tier 1 one. So you can get behind the rubble. People usually feel safe in that point of the lane, but then they forget to realize that their tower is gone behind them, even if you have a gap closer like Kennen.
And that's exactly
played around by Bangi with the flash W.
SKT were protecting themselves against on the other side of the map, so they were expecting Origen to do a very similar thing. So as though now he has no summoners, he's going to have to be extra careful here. A little bit of extra vision has been placed defensively for them, for Origen. They've also got the red buff quadrant of SKT warded up as well. So they'll see the second take of that buff and Bangi's whereabouts.
Yeah, but that gank failing and just not amounting to a kill just puts Origen in such a comfortable position. Not only do they get to see where Bengi was, he had to blow his flash, they traded that for cross-map vision in the jungle, and now they're in control of the next move. They're first to play.
Also, I would be looking at the bottom lane for some action here from Origen. Because they have the red quadrant warded up, they have to assume that Bengi's on the top side of the map, and the Tristana-Alistar combo does have that early lead. Soaz here might be the next target, though.
It's a bit of a payment, though. Soaz has been freezing this lane for a long time, and you're right, he is flashless, so this could be a target of opportunity, but he's already warded for himself. He saw Marin come through. He'll see if Bengi comes in as well. Amazing, sussing out the pathing of his opponents, going for the exact same buffs that just happened, and now Marin has to farm in a lane that's overextended.
Mithy is 75% away from level 6, by the way, so that dive is not close to being pulled off without extra vision of all SKT members.
But of course, outer turret's gone, so Bang has to play super far back. Niels is obliging by pushing at the very least, but it does unlock Amazing for some of these lanes. You can see how far back Wolf has to play.
The dive could go mid as well once that Alistar hits that level 6. Azir actually is extremely vulnerable to it.
The other side of that coin is, though, if Soaz keeps the wave frozen in front of his tower and is comfortable playing under defense of his tower, that frees up potentially Marin and Bengi roaming mid to dive Xpeke. If that happens and mid tier 1 falls, then suddenly the map is in control of SKT. So Origen have to be careful a little bit, and that's maybe why we see Amazing come out here.
They stop Marin. But of course, Marin
he'll be able to get away. Will they find the pink ward, though? Amazing needs to get something for his trip up top. It looks like he did not go into that brush, but he saw Marin move, so he'll figure it out. Yes, there must be a pink ward in here, and he will take it down.
We'll allow Origen if they want a hard push and force Marin's teleport without missing a bunch of waves. So there's a chance for that play here. But either way, we're at a 600 gold lead for Origen as we get to the 10-minute mark. This is pretty much unlike any of the stats we would have seen coming into this game, but kind of down the line, for literally every player, you have a farm advantage for Origen.
And well, 200 of that gold is on Amazing purely because he's been farming harder as Bengi's been trying to camp for Marin, and so has wasted a lot of his time. The rest of that gold is mostly on Tristana, on Niels, the champion that they want to knock down the rest of the outer turrets with. Look for that all-in. Alistar Tristana, very dangerous in the all-in combo, especially if there's an invisible jungler there.
Yeah, just 2 signature moves in this early game so far. The one flash outplay to teleport from Soaz staying alive, because that counteracted one proactive move. And then the little cheeky move where they made sure that Soaz was matched up against Marin and Niels path down, because they didn't really lose anything. So Origen with 2 minor outplays on the map, but that only leaves them marginally ahead.
By the way, Soaz teleport is back up, so they were unable to punish him so far for the early use of that summoner spell. Plus, remember, Peke did use his teleport mid, so SKT do have the 2-to-1 teleport advantage. Here comes, finally, that aggression down bottom, though.
There's no SKT jungler around. Amazing would theoretically be alone doing this, but SKT constantly playing very far back. Now a fight in the top side.
Soaz flash still on cooldown.
Bengi pop will stun Marin, will not stun Bengi. Soaz unwilling to flash, unable to get away. First blood to Marin, and SKT strike back.
SKT have now taken first blood in 9 out of their 10 games. They are the kings of finding those first blood. If at first you don't succeed, well, you come back once he just has no way out. Soaz again overextends in that lane. No tower to back him up, no jungler to back him up. And yeah, well played by SKT.
Yeah, keeping track of that flash timer going to make sure they get there right before it comes back off of cooldown. So as not having it available gets punished.
It's a good thing. SKT able to now pull a 500 gold lead for the team as they kill the minion wave left over on the map. Amazing still unable to find his mark in this game. Runeglaive is done, so he's got the jungle enchant for himself. Deals plenty of damage. Okay, he did get the Raptor.
Yeah, risky early smite there. But does get it, as well as the ward. Down bottom now. They still haven't made a move, and there's a pink ward that will see him coming in.
Yeah, SKT have done a good job of not getting any deep wards in the lanes. Hang on, Easy Hoon.
Whoa, a big move there. Nice flash gets away from Emperor's Divide. Easy Hoon forced to use his as well to not get traded back on. Peke with a well-respected move. Now a bot lane fight. Good rocket jump by Niels. Buffers it against the Callisto ulti. Gets away.
Yeah, I don't know about being forced to use it in the mid lane there. Easy.
I think the E cooldown was close enough to being back.
Very scared. He didn't see the laser come out first. Just use it.
Uh-oh, Marin, he's got the ulti, pops it. Soaz going to be in a bad way. Does have flash. And it's going to be a flash follow. There's only one vital left, and Marin can't quite reach it, but he gets the slow. One hit will kill. A stun for Soaz, but it's enough to get Marin the kill anyway. 2-0 to the SKT top laner.
Amazing, still trying to make something work out bottom, but Bengi is here, giving even better than he's getting.
And Mithy's ult's already down. A three-man knockup! Beautiful! Gets one back from Alistair, but Mithy is already dead. Wolf survives the chase. Niels gets one back. It's already 4-1 SKT, though this game is falling apart. Bengi takes a couple of shots, does miss the knockup. Niels really wants this kill, nearly gets it. Bang almost dies as well. If anyone would show up, it's a sure double kill, but Soaz is missing Flash. He's almost in range for the Q. Bang is gonna get taken down. 2-4 now, Origen clawing back in.
EasyHoon is still here, Soaz does have to be careful. All right, he's not gonna go any deeper. Now
no flash.
It is only a few hundred gold lead for SKT, even with the extra 2 kills.
What worries me is though that all these plays seem to be initiated by SKT, so the gank top, Soaz had to outplay this play bottom. He had to teleport in and save that. EasyHoon was roaming proactively, and SKT they want to get stuff done. And Origen, they're just fine, sitting back playing that game slowly, but just against a team that is as creative as SK Telecom, it's a really risky strategy to do that.
I mean, the Marin Fiora pick that we highlighted, obviously very important to SKT, and Bengi camping up there for a large portion of the early game. Marin able to make that pay off. This Dragon, though, gonna go over to OG without any vision there from SKT.
Well deserved. Proper recall timing. Niels has plenty of attack damage, and Bang looks like he just went back for the Blade of the Ruined King. Another team is mid already. Azir is getting blue buff, so EasyHoon is shut out of this lane.
He may have to ulti here.
Doesn't matter what happens. Origen up now 2 turrets to 1. They got the first Dragon as well. A 400 gold lead.
Origen is really good at getting members to collapse in from different lanes. Hang on, Marin.
Gotta be careful.
Overextended.
He can jump over the wall.
Soaz is above him though.
Rocket jump lands for the slow. Marin will riposte the stun and actually pulverize misses, but it doesn't matter. Soaz gets his second kill of the game.
So he would have had to jump over the thin part of the Baron wall when he first saw Tristana there. If you go up further, that section of the Baron wall is too thick to jump over, and he had no option at that point. Origen get a pick off here, and it's going to be a tower trade, it looks like. Bang is all alone down bottom, but Origen continue to push top, so...
Yeah, it'll be a 1-for-1, and the score will be 3-2 here. Origen have more than enough members here. I think it's nice for SKT, the fact that Kalista can knock a turret down. And Bengi will look for a play. Peke does not have flash. Shenalty's in as well, and the Victor W will land a bit of a stun, but here comes the taunt, here comes the Azir damage, and that's a great kill in the mid lane for SK Telecom. The turrets will be traded. Won't take long for Bang here, and we can see the game still very close.
Yeah, that's a big kill. You lose your mid lane wave clear, and all the map control,
for this
even
dive.
if they dive this,
He'll
maybe
land the
risky.
knockup. Marin has no flash, no ult. He can look for the riposte. There's going to be a big chunk of damage, and Niels dunks better than Darius could ever hope to.
These are the dangers we talk about. Since we have to keep up pressure on multiple points of the map, SKT are showing all of their members on the map. They use 3 people mid, and Bang still bottom. That meant that once Marin showed, they knew it was a free dive.
But it's still a turret trade. That mid lane kill let EasyHoon push one thing down. Okay, a tier 2 is worth more than a tier 1, but it's still tit for tat every single time.
Yeah, Marin.
The extra kill here.
Overextending here. That should never happen. You should play passive on this side, because not only does he die here, this gives Origen a tier 2 tower, something that nobody has ever done in this tournament so far against SK Telecom. This is the first tier 2 tower that has fallen on their side.
That's why I really like that vision toggle by the spectator right there, by the way, because you could see Marin had no idea that Origen were still there, and it was about the amount of information that each team is giving up in this game. SKT like to play a little bit risky in that they push all waves at the same time. So they're constantly giving information on all of their champions, whereas Origen were just outside the fog of war there. You could see in the toggle, and they surprise Marin. They make him pay for that slightly aggressive or greedy move going for the extra minion wave.
Yeah. Both teams trying to contest the Dragon area, and usually, if you watch these teams play so far in World Championship, again, very focused on pushing all lanes. That means the majority of the deaths in the early to mid game are people getting caught out, getting too greedy to push that wave. We distinctly remember Bengi in mid lane one time getting caught out, Bang getting hooked twice by a Thresh when trying to push out these waves, and Origen are using the vision, and SKT is greed against them right now. and punishing.
And I expect there to be more of these types of picks without seeing the Tahm Kench and the Thresh in this game. These are kill supports. These are supports that revolve around making the picks, not protecting against them too much. Wolf actually even offensively using the Stand United. Not trying to save someone, he's trying to change the numbers, go for that offensive move, gain ground. This is how SKT snowball. They play so sort of greedily and risky. They try and push so many things at once.
And meanwhile, pushing to the top lane, though, Marin very overextended, but he's got Bengi just behind him. This will not be a kill picked up by Origen. All is well. And Kobe, as you were talking about playing aggressively, Mithy's even gone for his second item as distortion boots on his upgraded boots mobility. He wants to hit these flash pulverizers all the time.
And I think this is the correct way to play because you have a high chance of gaining incremental leads this way at a fairly low cost. But we do see it punished right there. And you have to work around the large cooldown. The cooldown we just saw, Marin burn his flash, that's something that you paid for the extra minion waves, the extra danger of pushing that far with all 3 waves. Now that they don't have it, he can't afford to make that same sort of risky play.
The initial action has died down a little bit, and we had some action, but overall still 9 kills in 18 minutes. The thing you really want to watch right now is the minimap. Whenever members come out of the base, SKT always assign their members so far in this tournament to the right lanes immediately. Whereas Origen, they will hesitate. They will send Niels mid to help XPeke. Turns out he didn't really need that help. Niels goes bottom. Soaz helps XPeke, then gets pushed to the side lane. And that way, Origen farmed less in 15 minutes to 30 CS overall on the map because they lose some waves here and there, as opposed to SKT, who seem to never hesitate, especially Wolf. He's always there to help a poor matchup.
I think that's a really good point, and we were talking with some of the guys on how the Origen shot calling goes. All of them have input, and all these guys add, information and what the ideas of where to go. But they don't have that instant reaction of one shot caller that's leading the entire way and a definitive route for them leaving. So that's why you see these small moments of hesitation.
Yeah, we just saw it right there. 5 members to the mid lane. They're talking who goes where. Then they fan out to the side lanes. It doesn't really lose them too much, but it does indicate that this may be true.
The thing is, though, it's a really crucial timing right now for Origen. Double item Tristana is done, and Dragon's coming up in 15 seconds. Kalista cannot match this recall timing. Riley's also done for Peke. He's got a bunch of big items. This is a power spike for Origen if they can contest this Dragon properly.
That's actually an interesting first buy there for Peke, considering I would think that the Evelyn would also go Riley's.
They just want control in these team fights around these objectives, because if Soaz can get a flank off and the remaining parts of Origen can just hard collapse in these fights.
Good dodge by Amazing, gets away from the knockup. Kalista ult also pops. We'll look for Mithy here. Trade of ulti knocks in Wolf. He can no longer be saved. There's the headbutt into Tristana. Wolf cannot survive. That will still kill him. Mithy is going to push forward. So will Neil. Soaz is in. Pops the ult. Lands a stun on a Bangi. The collapse is there. The Chaos Storm won't reach. But Amazing goes in. Easy room to turn it back around. The turret will get the kill. It's a 2-for-1 in favor of Origen, and they've got control.
Could have sworn he did that because he wanted the W reset so he could speed out, but didn't see the reactivation there.
I might look at that replay.
He got hit by the Azir Q for the slow. And Marin gets top lane tier 2. That turret goes down. Origen do not collapse and cap plays for a Dragon, so also plus 1 kill for a turret kill.
Yeah, Marin had teleport, so he could have joined, but SKT generally are really good at reading when to concede fights, but then when to re-engage, even though they have a numbers disadvantage very often in these fights. So Marin pushes up top, forces Soaz to react, and they end up getting the Dragon anyways. Mostly because, let's face it, that was an incredibly greedy flash from Amazing. You should not be flashing under a tier 2 when the guy is already at 10%.
Absolutely agree. So an overstep by Amazing. One of the first major mistakes we've seen now from Origen. SKT react beautifully. Shen'll teleport, go back down to the Dragon, push him off, even the blue buff afterwards, and it's huge.
Yeah, sometimes too busy asking if you can.
Yeah, you were so preoccupied with whether you could that you never, ask yourself.
Ask if I should. He could go get that kill, but the amount of time and the resources that it takes to go get that kill, you're not worth giving up the objective control around the Dragon. SKT can get the turret and they get this Dragon.
Good sidestep here though, but Amazing. Forces 2 ultis, Mithy turns it around. Already used ulti, so he wants to turn that into aggressive play. Shen support, not strong enough just now. Niels jumps, then dies. Jumps again, so trampoline here from Niels. Soaz coming in, and at this point, when the jungler's chunk low and your objective is the Dragon, you turn around.
Let's see here. What does stop the second double? Oh, he did activate it, and you're right. The soldier hits the Q just on the way out.
So unfortunate stuff there for Origen and a bit of a misplay. So the game is back to tied. 1 dragon each, same kills, same turrets. Farm is plus or minus 15 down the board. And Origen go for the rush play. Teleport and Shenalty both down. This dragon will die pretty fast. SKT knows. They're coming.
But it's way too late for them.
Gravity field's in the way. Wolf won't be there. Dragon, doesn't matter. Baron's in. 23 minutes in.
They're all out safe, too. They were able to get off Baron-empowered recalls and defend all waves here. Origen can straight from the fountain. They didn't lose anything there with that call. What a comeback play. All the teleports being used by SKT to get Dragon and Classic Xpeke and Soaz.
Classic Europe.
Classic EU. They're able to get the Baron in trade.
I thought this was going to be a clean 3-0, but Origen, not only did they dodge these early ganks from Bengi, they're the first team to get a tier 2 tower against SKT. They're the first team to lead at 20 minutes against SKT, and they're the first team to get a Baron against SKT. And what a Baron it was so early in the game. Clearly not ready for those Fnatic-esque type of Barons that we see so often in the EU LCS.
You have little faith, Crepo. I was telling you. It's not over yet, though. This is still an incredibly close game. Yes, Origen do have the Baron buff, and they have a strong siege right now, but Marin looking to flank. There are plenty of deep wards here from SKT as well.
So what kind of play can be made? Marin does have ulti, does have flash. He can get to his target.
Yes, I think that SKT might just opt to try and wave clear here.
So as has Zonius, he can peel, so can Alistair. Mithy has ult, flash, everything he needs. There is some poke coming through. Amazing is going for the flank play. Gets rid of a ward. Now he won't be spotted next time around. There's only 1 pink ward left in the SKT inventory. And mid lane tier 2 will go down. Niels is safe enough. He can turn it back. There we go. Turret goes down. Low health though. Vamp Scepter's in. He can heal a bit.
Yeah, look at Marin immediately peeling off. This is generally what he likes doing, leaving his team as 4 to defend or either siege, peel off and start working on those side lanes. But Origen, they have a very group-heavy strategy this game, and they don't care about your side lanes because they're looking to siege.
right now, though.
You mentioned SKT in the right place at the right time, but Marin walks top lane only to recall right away. No teleport. Bot lane already getting hit here.
He's got home guards, though.
You can walk fast, but that turret still loses half its health, and Wolf and Bang getting chunked as well by Victor. Now Marin's in the fight, but this turret's at half. SKT make the wrong choice to even defend.
They just tried to 5-man defend mid, got it pushed down without being able to do anything, and make the same choice. Instead of keeping Marin pushing up top and trying to gain at least a little bit of map pressure back, we're seeing these very, very slight mistakes from SKT this game, and Origen are pulling it out beautifully.
Yeah, props to Origen for making SKT dance to their tune. This is one of the few games where an enemy team is actually controlling the pace of the game, telling SKT, no, you can't do that. You can't get away with pushing top lane because we will take your tier 2 tower in the bottom. And Origen, fantastic map play and completely unexpected if you looked at how we led up to this series.
As they said, they are not afraid of SKT. And I don't know about completely unexpected. Origen have done the sneaky Baron before.
Yeah, later in the game.
Yeah, well, you have to be, it just goes to show you have to be so careful against this team to leave at least 1 ward around the Baron area post 20, actually just post 20 minutes flat.
Yeah, period. Once it spawns.
SKT had 2 pink wards in that area that were up for pretty much the entirety of the game, so they were so comfortable with this vision. They were so comfortable playing and forcing teams to play 1-3-1 against them too, that no team really has been in the position to go for that Baron. Incredibly smart read in terms of gameplay, and honestly impressed by what Origen's bringing here on European soil.
So a 3,000 gold lead on European soil. Origen defying everyone but the online predictions there. We had like a 75% Twitter vote, so you guys know more than all of us analysts so far. Of course, it is still anybody's game. Of course, it's still close.
I was arguing against Crepo saying they would win a game.
Yeah. Now he comes out of the shadows. Told you they were going to take a game, Crepo.
Oh, man. Well, the 3rd Dragon of the game spawns in 40 seconds. It's 1 apiece right now, so all it means is turret damage for either side.
Also, fun fact, Crepo made a bet that if Origen win a game, he'll do a cartwheel for every game.
6 cartwheels coming up.
It will be video documented. Let's see if Origen can keep it up, though. They've only been able to eke out a 3,000 gold lead. SKT have come back from more this year.
All right, Marin putting pressure in the top lane again. Niels, he ran down the mid lane. Now he has to go to red buff. He'll likely pick up that wave on top later. Just have to see if somebody gets picked off, because SKT have no hesitation whatsoever pulling the trigger, and they have a team composition that plays really well later in these team fights with that Azir. So Origen, they will need a flank. So look for Soaz, or maybe even Mithy, or Amazing. Just somebody needs to get behind the SKT lineup, whether it's teleport or just simply walking there. That's the way OG want to play these fights.
Yeah, remember we were talking about how well-rounded this SKT lineup is. They can continue to have Marin split push. They have the Azir to try and knock Soaz back out of the fight as well.
Heals his zone.
Peke does take some damage
has
as
to
well.
burn Rocket Jump. Now he needs his team to peel him. 2,000 health on the Dragon. Smite goes over to SK Telecom. They got it. A big ulti for Amazing. Wolf can always be peeled out. Nice jump over the wall. Heals his shield. Great stealing by EasyHoon. A great smite by Banky.
Yeah, it's so hard to chase into an Azir. Right now, they all lose momentum in terms of mid lane. Two Bang zoning them. Niels again forced to rocket jump. Now Mithy stuck on the other side. He is in flanking position. Should he go around? Xpeke is on the bottom side of your screen too. Xpeke.
Nice bit of damage. Ulti popped. EasyHoon down to half HP.
He's got the Rylai slow.
So he slowed a few of them, but Banky and Ko can still jump over walls. All they can do is make SKT go the wrong direction. Now, can Origen get enough down the mid lane? SKT will be late. Will the inhibitor turret take enough damage?
Marin's already recalled.
Soaz is up top lane already, but he has teleport.
Yeah, the goal right now is not sieging that tower. It's just locking SKT in base and denying as much vision being played as you can. Because of 1 minute from now, that Baron is going to spawn.
Marin down to half. You can see Niels can kill that guy in about 7 auto attacks. That doesn't take very long. Tristana's got plenty of attacks at this point in the game.
Vision's a very key point right now as the map has gone dark with so much fighting and pushing minion waves here.
Baron's up at 45 seconds.
Origen Vision has timed out.
Soaz has to be careful. He can't go for the next wave because he doesn't know where Marin is, so he's hovering around, protecting himself.
Well, they can at least math out the movement speed of the champions. They can get to the top jungle pretty soon, though. No vision really for either team. It's SKT who does it first on this side of the map. Dragon's gone for a long time. It's just Baron to play around.
And keep track of the completed items, because while Origen do have this fairly sizable gold lead for the mid game, decent gold lead for the mid game, it's about the 3 item completions here on both Azir and Kalista for SKT. The carry is still very popular.
Big chunk of damage. Amazing puts the ulti in for the shield and flashes over the wall. Almost dies, and EasyHoon gets it. Mithy shows up for some damage. Another knockup goes in towards Peke. Wolf taking a lot of damage, flashes out. Big damage, saved. And here comes Marin. He wants Soaz for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but the Slicing Maelstrom buying a lot of time. 1 for 1 in this fight. Mithy gets a knockup onto Bang, and look at the damage output. Bangy's next. Here comes Niels. Summoner heal for movement speed, but he can't land the attack. Not just yet. He gets it. He gets the kill. Origen win the fight 3-1.
And EasyHoon is still cornered in Origen territory. They haven't seen him exit though.
But there's enough time to knock this one down. It's only Marin and EasyHoon alive. Marin has home guard and he's recalling, but this turret will already go down. Now here comes Marin. EasyHoon survives with the shield, with the turret for himself. Marin now in a 1v2.
Mithy's got to be careful. He doesn't have ultimate, and Marin can take him down very quickly.
Good damage done on Niels. Pops the W. Here comes Shen. Here's the ulti. Easy first pickup. Meanwhile, Amazing did pick off EasyHoon. A 1 for 1, and the inhib stayed alive.
Yeah, second misclick on that pulverize from Mithy, showing some...
Don't calm down yet. Baron is active here, guys.
All right, Baron's active, guys. He reposted it, though. He wouldn't have done anything with that pulverize at all. He should have headbutted, waited, seen it come out, gone for something else later. The Neil zoned out. He should have rocket jump. He does. Marin does not have the move speed to chase this.
All 4 teleports are ready. There's True Sight on Baron right now, and SKT making their way.
Most of the team is here. It's already pink warded. There is a green ward from Origen. They know of this. Amazing does not yet have ulti. Marin has teleport, but can be stopped by Niels. Amazing in the wing, spotted by a pink ward.
Niels should cancel that base from Marin and get it out of the equation. One extra teleport.
Amazing has no flash. Amazing caught, Amazing taunted, jumps over the wall from Bangy. Easy pickup here, but it will delay Baron, at least for now. But here comes Marin. He finds Xpeke. A beautiful repose, stops the headbutt, and Mithy was stunned, so he couldn't pulverize. Ults for himself now. Marin's still in the chase. Here comes some damage from Niels, but the support might be going down. It's a big chunk of damage. Marin barely survives. And 3 more kills with SKT. Now Sjokz is in. A beautiful taunt by Wolf. The re-engage. 1 kill picked up. Niels again in the chase, but he can't find Marin. Jump over the wall by Wolf. SKT does not aggro Baron. He could have. He aimed for the Shen, doesn't kill him.
All right, now you can calm down for a little bit. What do you got, Crepo?
Bot lane's open, and SKT can TP. There's more you could do.
No, we're calming down right now. I just want to talk about how this start. Really good vision control by SKT. Double ping. We're forcing Amazing to face check. Then the outplay. Flash at the right time. EasyHoon still picks him up, but Niels in that fight, that was just phenomenal. He went left, right, up and down. He was not afraid to flash into the fight, dash into the fight to get a potential reset, and his team played around him. So really, really good. Yeah, just positioning.
I believe it's up, down, left, right.
Yeah. No cheating in League of Legends.
Half of it. Two up.
With all of that, though, remember the vision point that we keep bringing up. It's SKT constantly leaving wards deep on Origen territory, and the true sight around Baron still stands.
It's been SKT overextending and going for 2 greedy plays, though they start Baron right now.
Niels is in base, though.
This one's good, exactly. Niels is gone. Scuttler or not, it doesn't matter. SOAS looks for it. Doesn't get it. Good Ren by Bang. SKT secure the Baron. They're down 1,500 gold right now. They could easily make this up.
SKT have had some of the biggest Baron power plays of any team here at Worlds. Let's see if it will be as effective as the Origen power play.
Yeah, it's 6 out of their 9 games. They finished the game with the Baron buff still present. So they went from first Baron to smashing the Nexus. Well,
yeah, they've only
Baron.
needed more than one Baron in one game here at Worlds.
With which they smashed the Nexus with that second buff, so...
Well, Origen making a invasive play here into SKT territory.
Amazing spotted by a ward, feels safe even without flash. Niels, of course, is right behind him. Going for a second BF sword at him, actually. Niels not going for Last Whisper.
This dragon isn't that important. Nobody should lose their lives over it.
Look at that flying still. Martin is immediately engaging Niels if he can get out of here. Collapse on the left side.
Ulti. Here comes the rest of the team. Amazing could get jumped on. The re-engage towards Dragon. Easy pickup. That's number 3 for SKT. Here comes SOAS. He's got his Zonya's Hourglass. He pops it. Death Cap means plenty of damage, but here comes the re-engage. Nice ulti by Azir to buy some more time. SKT get out clean.
If SKT hesitated any longer on the engage, they were about to be flying from both sides. SOAS at one, Mythly at the other, but just Origen really couldn't do. Yeah, close the pincer right there. If you can close that in time while SKT greets for the dragon, that could be a game-winning team fight.
That was that 1 second time difference when both pincers have to close at the same time. Crabman Crepo.
It's like Origen's trying to play Quap as a crab instead of as a distance runner.
Let's look at their siege straight up mid here with Baron buff, with Azir. Secondary turret's very difficult to defend against Baron buff.
One more turret shot. That minion's going to be gone, but it doesn't matter. So much damage by SKT. Now they're back ahead in gold. Turret score still -2, but they've got the turret damage and the movement speed dragon buffs that Origen does not have.
Well, SKT is usually a team that has phenomenal vision control. They just need more pink wards. And then Amazing, you just need to get behind enemy lines somehow, get unspotted, dodge those pink wards, because that is the factor that limits SKT in a lot of their movements, because they just simply don't know where Amazing is.
Peke can at least get rid of Marin for a little while, and of course can match teleports. Niels in the wing, sees Bengi's there.
That being said, Amazing by himself flanking is almost nothing. It's not that scary to SKT. Because their comp is so well-rounded, they have so many ways to protect Bang and EasyHoon. It has to be a double flank with SOAS, but SOAS is going down to Marin!
Zonya's pop-up. Marin gets the easy shutdown. Doesn't have teleport, but doesn't matter. The solo kill is the important thing. A 4v4 in the bot lane. Meanwhile, top lane is getting decimated. Easy turret picked up. SKT are safe. Bot lane 2-2, of course, also going to be going down. So, once they had Baron, SKT have gotten a kill, a dragon, and 3 turrets. And they're looking for more.
Yeah, you're fine almost holding that 44 in the bottom, and then suddenly your top laner drops 1v1 in the base. You just go in full recovery position, and you just try to lose maybe max 1 inhibitor. It's so incredibly hard to play against SKT with the siege from Azir, the split push from Marin there and after Fiora, and then have somebody drop. That's honestly a mistake from SOAS, just overextending.
The multiple threats there is too much to deal with. There's nobody on Origen that can handle the split pushing Fiora at this point.
They did thwart the inhibitor pressure, still alive. They dropped a tier 3 tower there in the top lane, but if they can push out, get control of the map, maybe set up for a teamfight again. Let's see what SOAS is doing.
He's in his own base. Just Marin does so much damage.
A perfect repost too. It's greedy. You can't. There's no reason to do that as SOAS, because at best you're gonna poke a champion that has a lot of lifesteal built in already. So it's a play that can only make you lose.
Kennan's all about the team fight here. Wants to get into 5-on-5 for Origen and try and force something on the main group of SKT. But again, the Azir ultimate can knock him back out. Kalista can stall him.
He's even just so much damage now. Abyssal Scepter in, Death Cap, the most recent addition. Void Staff probably next. And Easyhoon is definitely a threat. 412 minion kills, highest in the game by a lot.
So comfortable on that champion. And again, the SKT vision is all throughout both quadrants of Origen's jungle, deep even inside the base.
It's just becoming a race right now for either on one side Niels with the help of Expected to burn through the front line and just get the resets going, and Easyhoon to just whack away with his soldiers and kill everybody else, and then eventually they'll meet, and Niels will need some big crits to really win that fight because Easyhoon is so much damage right now.
There's already Bengi kind of cutting off one of the moves here. He's totally comfortable this far up in the lane. Plenty tanky on this Jarvan.
The way that SKT push and prod you in all three lanes at once. Marin is just so good at staying safe in the side lane on Fiora. That's why he always ends up with this giant experience lead and gold lead over the enemy top laner.
No hidden deep wards and no home guard teleport here on Soaz. That is the counterplay to this repetitive sieging. You just put a ward behind them.
Well, there are
out.
a couple wards here if SKT push up all the way to the inhibitor turrets. On either mid or bottom side, he has options.
But of course, Marin is not even against a turret here, and we saw him kill Soaz inside the base earlier, so that is an easy lever for Marin to pull. And SKT have a very lopsided top side of the map.
Silver line there for Origen is that, yes, Marin has this experience advantage. Hey, he capped out already, though. He's at 18, can't get any higher.
They run out soon enough.
It's a really nice way to look at your
too.
opponent's level 18. Oh dear.
Ah, you capped yourself too early.
I don't know if that really
that's
works.
not actually, that's not actually a good.
I don't think peeking too early works in this case, but the game is stalled out once more. Baron has ended for a while.
40 seconds only, though. The vision war is very real right now.
And of course, SKT, this is Dragon 4 for them, so they're 6.5 minutes away from a potentially game-winning buff. They want to play it really slowly. Not that they have to, of course.
If they clump up, though, there's so much AoE damage coming out of Soaz on that cannon, the Victor there for Expected. If any of them provide just enough damage to get a reset and the explosive charge explodes in that fight too from Niels, that's an instant whitewash, instant ace. So you have to be incredibly careful when they do group up to get these objectives.
All right, Marin on the bottom side. He does have teleport, as do Peke and Soaz.
They're collapsing on him right now.
Could be one of them.
Origen are late on the party towards the Baron, though. Soaz has to pop Zunius to get away.
Oh, and ultimate. SKT can
and
take
there's the push. There's the knockup. He gets 2. Here's the teleport to save the team, but amazing. Taking so much damage. He's the first casualty. Banky could be next. It will be a trade. Niels is okay, and he gets his knockup kind of canceled there. And now Wolf in the front lines, but it's already 1 kill picked up. Soaz can't find anyone to hit. Slowed down by the Azir wall, I believe. And meanwhile,
Marin's hitting the base.
Marin is hitting the base, so Peke must recall. But SKT could try to stop. They will not. It will be the inhibitor going down, and they're re-engaged towards Baron. Origen get neither going their way.
Pulled apart here. Expert use of the more powerful split pusher there by SKT.
At the same time, an incredibly unlucky flash hit from Soaz. Goes over the wall and he gets clipped by one of the remaining soldiers from Easyhoon's ultimate, and he just trying to get there. Nope, couldn't get into that team fight with his ultimate, and at that point, yeah, Marin takes the inhib. And the Baron goes down.
And it feels like part of this game is collapsing now for Origen. They had the chance of trying to surround Marin and killing him. They have the chance of rushing down a very easy to kill Dragon 2 with a 5-item Tristana here. They choose none of them. They take lazy, slow recalls. SKT takes the entire map. And Origen are losing this game.
Easyhoon, fantastic ultimate though in that fight. Really good showing why Azir is considered such a good late game teamfight champion. Completely pushes Peke and Niels out of the fight with no way to re-engage because you can't jump over that wall because you'll just get bounced back again. And then SKT's in full control because again, they're split pushing 4-1. Marin so often peels off and does his own thing and tells his team to just stay quiet, just do whatever you guys are doing. Don't concede that objective. Play with the necessary amount of respect, and he takes down bottom inhib.
And don't forget how SKT built even the very beginning of this game with so much of Bengi's early attention up top, helping Marin get the lead on Soaz. Here comes the flank, though. This is their shot. One
Marin
shot.
does have teleport. And the Azir turret is down. This is the chance for Origen to make a move. Amazing spotted on his flank. Bangi now to zone out Mithy. He's got to be careful. And this Alistair could get caught out. No one goes for the taunt.
No one can deal with Marin, though. I mean, SOS is up here looking at him, but he's still taking chunks out of the inhibitor.
Stun. Peke could land a slow. Another slow lands as Marin is at half HP. Now the push in. Whoa! Niels has to pop quick service Ash to remove the slow to run away. Mithy just trying to clear a few minions. They've got to get this Tristana to heal up quickly. Marin, meanwhile, has plenty of lifesteal, can get himself back to safety on this Fiora. SOAS losing health. Mid lane under fire. Should be an easy pickup there. Blue Elixir even there for more structured damage. Amazing gets caught. Dies during the knockup. Bang is on a rampage. And inhibitor number 2 and inhibitor number 3 going to be going down. Wolf and Bangi in pursuit. Peke goes down. The fight resumes 3v5. SOAS can't even kill off EasyHoon. He's got more shields than health bars. And everyone's dying. Neil's the only man alive. This will be the game. SK Telecom T1 are undefeated still in the World Championship. And they're 1 game of 3 in the way to the finals.
Undefeated still, but Origen made it further than any other team has here at Worlds against SKT.
Couple things still held true. SKT finished the game with a Baron buff, took them a couple more this time. Very long game, 43 minutes, 29 seconds, more down like Origen's alley, so definitely gave SKT a run for their money. And this roster, I believe 4 out of 5 from SKT T1S back in the day, actually ending up here looking poised, yeah, to go undefeated at Worlds.
Your cartwheeling days?
Nope.
Not yet.
Not
Rembo,
yet.
Not yet.
Well, I think certainly that Origen put up, as you guys were mentioning, a much better fight than expected. Not only just the fact that the game went late, but the fact that Origen had a lead, and a decent one early on into the game. This was not the Origen we were seeing at the World Championship. The team that, despite being top 4, was still averaging gold deficits in the first 25 minutes of the game, but this was the Origen actually doing well early on, finding good matchups, making different plays in the lane swap. Oh, give the gold to Tristana for a pickaxe recall to get a good 2v2. Oh, you have to force Bang out of lane early because the item disadvantage is so great. These are things that did matter, that did blow up part of the gold lead. The side lane pushing was good for Origen.
They also made their biggest swing in the mid game off of the Baron trade for Dragon, which they are probably not going to be able to get again. No. SKT, there are many things that Como will be talking to the players about after that game, and vision around the Baron post 20 minutes is probably going to be one of them.
You could already see the shifted priority on that Baron vision after that first one went down. The amount of picks that Origen almost walked into on SKT's side, just trying to get that vision back. Double pink ward there every time. Defended a lot more. SKT wasn't playing as 1-3-1 heavy as they usually have. They were actually playing a pretty heavy 4-1, just 4 members around that Baron area with Marin continuously showing us why Fiora is becoming one of the best top picks in the game right now.
It's a champion we might see banned away in game 2, but we're going to talk about game 1 a little bit more with the analyst desk. So we're going to send it down to Dash and Crew.
Thank you, gentlemen. There is so much to talk about here because we set up so much, and then so much of it went differently than we may have assumed. I want to start with picks and bans. Jungle, with Gragas out, we saw Origen go and try and pinch the jungle. Bangi decided to show them that he can play Jarvan.
Yeah, I think the pick and ban revealed a lot about these teams. I actually do like what Origen did in the pick and ban phase by banning out the junglers, and because by doing that, they actually force SKT into either banning the OPs or trading things. And the reason I think this is interesting is throughout this entire tournament, it's kind of been the Mordekaiser and Gangplank. But if we consider the picks that were huge in the quarterfinals, Tom Kench, Lulu, it starts to extend. SKT didn't want to trade 1 for 2, even if they had the first pick. So by banning out the junglers on the red side, they actually made SKT make a pretty decisive choice, and SKT did end up limiting their options a little bit.
Well, I think the choices Origen made were because they had to once they first banned Elise. Once you ban Elise, you no longer have 2 bans left. You're going to ban Rek'Sai, or you're going to give them a free Rek'Sai. So once SKT started banning out the regular purple side bans, I think they're like, well, we kind of already dug ourselves in this Elise ban, so we have to keep going with it. And that kind of like flowed for their pick and ban, even though they didn't want it.
Right, and what this ended up doing was giving SK Telecom many of their comfort picks. I mean, we talk about EasyHoon. We associate him with Azir. We talk about Bang. He is now 13-0 professionally, undefeated on Kalista. And so these kind of picks coming through, when you can't throw these more targeted bans out, they're going to get the comfort picks.
Yeah, I mean, it's the nature of being on red side. I still like what Origen did because you don't have many options. Like, they can't then ban out Azir and Fiora because then they're giving them the pick the litter jungler and a trade of OP.
Well,
like, it just doesn't work.
Their decision was good. Like, they had to give up the power picks, they realized that. So they picked the counter picks. Like, although Victor isn't a counter pick to Azir, he can do well.
The attempted counter.
But the Kinnan into a Fiora, I think, is great. I think the Tristana into Kalista is great as well. So if you're going to have to be giving up these picks, at least have something in your pocket to play against it.
Let's take a look at how that manifested in the game as we look at SKT grabbing that victory. We saw the lane swap come through. Looked rather in favor of Origen as they had a quick push with Tristana, but they decided to leave Soaz in the long lane following the initial turret falling.
I think this was tunnel vision incarnate. So they get the counter picks on Kalista, they get it on Fiora, and they go, okay, we can lane 2v2 and 1v1, yay. But they don't realize, like, Tristana's going to auto push, so they can't really freeze that lane when normally when you lane swap, you get a frozen lane and a lane that you have to defreeze. So now they're sitting in a lane that they don't get to freeze, and they have to de-push top. But, like we said, in Origen likes to send their jungler bot lane. Eve goes bot. Kinnan is alone top. Poor guy.
With no wards in the river.
With no wards in the river. And even if he did, they're just going to chase him down the lane and keep freezing it. There's nothing that you can do in that situation as a solo lane, like, top laner. Like, you have to have your jungler, you have to have your support. So I think they tunneled really hard on the counter picks and abusing them, and they didn't realize that it kind of like destroys how 2v1s are played.
And I actually think the outplay that Soaz did to stay alive did a lot to save Origen's early game and ended up giving them a bit of an advantage because they spent so much time chasing around Soaz for no total gold gain. Meanwhile, Amazing got like a 15 or 20 CS advantage while he was not having presence in the lanes. And that did give them a mid-game spike, but that actually really shouldn't have happened unless Soaz makes that ridiculous escape.
Yeah, but later as the game progressed, I mean, we saw 100+ CS difference from Marin because it was SK Telecom. We talked about how they can increase these gold leads, how they are very good at assigning lanes and making sure they get all of that gold. And so they really started pulling ahead in farm over time.
No, it was funny. We had these statistics coming into the day where SKT averages at 20 minutes a 4K gold lead. And Origen averages down 160 gold at 20 minutes per that graph that we showed. Well, today in this game one, Origen was up 700 gold at that 20-minute mark with, with that, and then follow that up with that amazing Baron call at 23 minutes.
I think Origen played really well this game. I was very impressed by their play on the map. They did the same thing against KT, if you remember, in the game in the group stages, trying to take this early Baron. And, I mean, this is right after we did see SKT sort of win a scrap, and they had an opportunity to get some wards down, but they really didn't respect Origen. This is all dark, as you can see right now. So it made it a very easy, very good Baron call for Origen.
Yeah, and these are the types of games I like to watch because, yeah, you can make an argument that SKT should have had vision of this Baron or they should have had early wards down, but so many of these plays weren't big misplays. They were just the other team taking advantage of opportunity. Even at the very end of the game, when Origen was trying to kill the split-pushing Fiora in the top lane, I think that was the best play they could have made when they double teleport and get the Baron play. The execution of the play wasn't necessarily ideal and it didn't work out for them, but it was still a really well-played play.
Now, so I want to really quickly break down then how it all fell back into SKT's favor, because Origen, for all intents and purposes, was set up to win this game with what they were doing within the first 25 minutes.
Well, I mean, the SK Telecom did have a very nice scaling composition, and that Fiora got so far ahead and so tanky. And I know that Jat wants to talk about the itemization a little bit in this game because you felt very passionately about it.
Yeah, so this was an Origen game. Origen pulled even with SKT, and then we actually got to see what SK looks like when they're challenged. They outplayed them with the split push, and I think Origen made some big itemization mistakes. Niels was snowballing the game pretty well, so he had his core 3, Bloodthirster, Static Shiv, and Infinity Edge. And then I think he wanted the Scimitar in case Fiora tried to zero him out. But in doing so, by starting BF Sword, he delayed his item build so long that the rest of SKT saw the BF Sword, built Warden's Mail on 3 people, and Niels didn't have armor penetration, which neglected the opportunity for Origen to find the right team fights. And it's one of the big reasons SKT wasn't punished while they were split pushing.
Well, a little bit of time for both of these teams to continue to rethink their strategies moving on to Game 2. We're going to take a quick break as Origen looks to bounce back and tie it up in Game 2. As we go, we'd like to give a shout out to Declan Wadey, who developed the Skin Spotlight camera tool you've seen in action throughout Worlds 2015. Don't touch that browser. The World Championship semifinals continue when we return.
Game 1 of the semifinals. South Korea's SK Telecom T1 versus Europe's Origen.
running away through the wards, pops summoner teleport, and is a god! Mithy's ult's already down, a 3-man knockup! Beautiful! Gets one back from Alistair, but Mithy's already dead. Wolf survives.
Flash. Okay, that's good. Can we go?
Yeah, just go, we can. Back out now. Yeah, maybe. He's dead. But the slicing maelstrom buying a lot of time. 1-for-1 in this fight. Mithy gets a knockup onto Bang, and look at the damage output. Wolf and Bangi in pursuit. Peke goes down. The fight resumes 3v5. Soaz can't even kill off EasyHoon. SK Telecom T1 are undefeated, still in the World Championship.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the 2015 World Semifinals, where SKT is up 1-0 after a comeback win against Origen to start the day. And Jad, you hit it in the post-game. This was one of the first times we've seen SKT really challenged in this tournament. Yep. But it wasn't enough. Origen still didn't come away with a win, so the question is, where do they go from here as a team when they're looking to refocus for Game 2?
I think Origen just needs to continue to be creative in their draft phase and hope for a similar game they had in Game 1. They were in a position where a couple team fights go a different direction and they win the game. I really like what they did in the draft phase because there are two specific subsets of champions that you can starve in the draft phase right now. Junglers and the OPs right now. So unless SKT is willing to play the same red side game that SKT did last game, they're going to get the same thing, or they're going to get one of the starved champion pools pick the litter.
And what I really liked about Origen, and we talked before, what does Origen have to do to make this a competitive match? Well, they came roaring out of the gate, much more aggressive play than we've seen before, getting those early game leads. And that's something that has not only not happened against SK Telecom, Origen has not been doing it either. So this is a really strong, I think, additional performance and might make this best of 5 much closer than I originally thought.
If you had to look at one individual on Origen to step it up this time around, who are you looking at?
I have to say amazing. I think he got caught out in some of the later team fights and was playing a bit risky as to how he was checking around vision. And he does need to do, I think, a lot more. And I'm also concerned about the low amount of pressure he put out in the early game in that last one, as well as the presence around Soaz in the top side.
Yeah, if you watch his early game, he sent both of his extremely farm-heavy paths ended up bot lane while the Tristan was pushing. I understand you have to save that lane, but this is during top lane's fiasco of he burns TP and flash. So I think they're still not understanding where he needs to be at all times, like where the most efficient pathing is for him. And then, yeah, later in the game, once they lost the vision control over Baron, was really, really weird. They get the first Baron, and then this is OG's style that I was talking about earlier, that they're kind of getting better into like the slow kind of play that SKT is really good at. And it shows, like, they got the first Baron, that's great, but now where are the pinks around Baron? Where are the vision control around Baron? The next thing that happens is SKT just sets up camp around Baron and continually catches Origen trying to come back in.
All right, well, it's time to see if Origen can tie the series in Game 2. And as we check in with the casters, Marin shares SKT's strategy for dealing with Origen's strong team coordination.
일단 부담감은 그렇게 크진 않고요. 그래도 평소에 하던 대로 하면 될 것 같고 오지팀이 운영을 좀 잘 하는 것 같은데 라인전에서부터 스노우볼을 좀 굴려가면 운영을 하기 전에 이길 수 있을 것 같습니다.
Well, it's interesting. He talks about the fact that, we think we can win before they start making those plays, but it was actually Origen that actually started out with a strong early game, and it was SKT making really clutch plays at the end of the game that got them back in.
Yeah, the two main things, the two factors that really led to that comeback for SKT, the huge split pushing threat of Fiora. Marin's been great on this champion. Yep. And then obviously EasyHoon on the Azir, classic champion for him. The late game so secure with that.
At the same time, we can pull into question Amazing's pathing and just how he wasn't helping Soaz that often, because he made a phenomenal outplay. Juking that flash, then going to the brush and teleporting out. But all that's the purposes, Soaz should have been dead right there. That should have been a snowballing Marin in the laning phase, and that could have been the defining matchup that early in the game already, and Amazing couldn't get as much done at the other side.
And I like that point with a small tweak of actually not going to help Soaz, but making the play on the bottom side of the map. There were multiple times where Amazing was on the bottom side of the map while Soaz was taking up the time of multiple members, and he wasn't able to punish Bang and Wolf, who were in the extended lane.
So now we get to see what adaptations are made as we get ourselves into the game. Back in game 1, SKT blue side of those 100% pick ban champions of Gangplank Mordekaiser. I guess Mordekaiser actually more like 97%. He went by once, but now Origen making some swaps. They're figuring out what SKT wanted to play. Now they're doing some very specific bans. The Azir is already away from EasyHoon. They retain the Lulu ban here, and we can see the junglers are not pinched yet.
Could see a Rek'Sai ban here from Origen and then going for the Elise first pick. That is one of the strategies you can do, or just leave them all open and get the Kalista on your side.
I think we may see the TF come to prominence again as well here. EasyHoon's Azir is banned out though.
I would almost rather ban Fiora and then leave, you know, all 3 of them up and try to get the right sort of pinch going. Because if Rek'Sai and Elise are both up, you can just trade 1 for 1. It's not that bad.
I would rather see a Riven locked in to play against Fiora, just because I love that skill matchup and it's so snowbally.
The question is Soaz good enough to handle Marin in that matchup, though? Marin has been absolutely ridiculously good this tournament so far. And do you trust Soaz to win the 1v1?
If you
in a matchup, he has to win the
Is it a 1v1 though?
Well, exactly.
Sure,
you have to. If you see a Fiora Riven matchup, you send you send everybody you can to influence it.
Well,
all right. There's
Rek'Sai up, but that of course allows a trade of other champions. The Tahm Kench is available.
This has to be a Rek'Sai first pick.
Wasn't even picked last game.
It was banned.
Right.
If I remember properly.
Hey, you're both right. No.
Hey, look at us. All of us putting our stats into work here.
I don't think it was banned, but
maybe I'm wrong then. Maybe it wasn't blue side banned, and I'm just silly. Well, either way, the Rek'Sai first pick did come through. There is the Tahm Kench.
Maybe it was.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Either way, you were right that it wasn't picked. So 100% Kobe is correct.
So remember, though, Thresh does a very similar thing, or Origen will use Thresh in a very similar manner. Well, they'll have Mithy trail on the side lanes that are split pushing, use the Lantern for a long range save of someone who's trying to control minion waves.
And if Orianna gets locked in, I wonder why exactly the Elise ban came through from SKT. The only sort of OP they got from this trade was the Tahm Kench.
It probably just got to a point where they're comfortable playing any jungler into Rek'Sai, and they think that matchup disparity just is smaller than playing anything into Elise, because SKT have shown to love Elise. 5 first picks in 5 blue side games leading up to this game, all have been on
Every
on
jungler
Elise.
In the world is... Elise is the top tier right now, so like you don't want to play into that.
Yeah, the question is
playing
the Delta, right?
Playing into Rek'Sai is much more of a generalist. She is strong, does have a slight advantage.
I'm not debating the strength.
Most other ones.
It's the delta between Rek'Sai Elise and then Rek'Sai next.
Exactly. And
SKT decides that the Rek'Sai next delta is not as big. That's what it comes down to, and they decided that Tahm Kench is worth picking up first round. The Orianna, though, blind pick is very atypical. SKT have never, I believe, first round blue sided a mid laner. Or red side, rather.
EasyHoon unafraid.
Origen to make their choice. Though the duo lane locked in here, Tristana picked up quite quickly.
Just want to get more feel of what Origen's going to bring to the table so they can cater their jungle pick. Because now you have to go into, instead of like these generic junglers that work in every situation, you may want to get something very specific for this matchup.
And you have to look at the whole team comp as well. With Tahm Kench and Orianna locked in really early, it looks like a very defensive lineup coming out of the bat here, but Sivir being locked in to boost the speed here of the entire team, and we'll have another look at Bengi's Jarvan.
Well, that's interesting, actually, the fact that Sivir got grabbed, because normally we saw Tahm Kench do as well with a Jinx, right? Protecting a hyper carry.
The hyper carry here is not the AD carry, it is Marin just on a top lane. This is, instead of a Jugger Jinx, Jugger Sivir composition, may just become like a
Jugger Fiora.
A Jugger Fiora composition where your entire lineup revolves around facilitating that top laner. A lot of the strong top laners in this matchup, in this meta rather, have weaknesses in terms of mobility. Well, that's solved. They can fall low in fights. That's solved, and you have an Orianna for these team fights later on.
Also, may I say, the Kenshi is actually a big threat in himself, and speed boosting up Tahm Kench is very scary. Tahm Kench only needs like 3 stats: health, speed, and you can throw on some resistances and cooldown reduction.
Just basically,
and he's good to go.
Speed of spells, cooldown reduction, great, more health and speed. Well, last few picks here for Origen. Will they go back to this Victor for Xpeke? He played a ton of Anivia last week. Looks like he's back to the Victor here. The Fiora will get grabbed up by Origen. No, it does go back to the Anivia. So, 2 major carries, a nice backline. Anivia can do plenty.
Baby.
And now SKT say, all right, well.
So I do like this preemptive sort of attempt at a counter of a top lane melee carry. From SKT, locking in the Anivia and Morgana. You can do a decent amount to hinder the movements there of whatever top lane carry, but it looks like just an more early game focused, sort of base damage oriented SKT.
This is what Marin wanted to do. This is the counter pick that someday had prepared against
That's risky though.
2 Tigers, and it didn't work out. Now the Renekton does come through, so it's not quite the Riven versus Fiora matchup, but it is Renekton.
Not even close.
Fiora.
I feel like
it starts with the same letter.
Completely different.
You do AoE with pressing Q. I mean, this is the same flavor of champion in a lot of ways.
Origen with another composition that they've run a lot before, where they just have incredibly slow game pace. They want to get that Anivia rolling, and then later in the game, they can start kiting in the team fights in the mid game. That's what they use the wall for, the bindings, the black shield. And then in the late game, once they start sieging, this is an incredibly hard to defend against siege composition, because later, like I'm talking 35 plus minutes, wall on one side, ulti on the other, and Tristana only needs 5 seconds to tear away at your tower. So Origen with some tricky team fights here. But if SKT can close the gap, catch expect with a single CC, the fight can turn, and they do have the tools to do that.
Yeah, and I feel like SKT do have an early game oriented advantage as well here versus Origen. Anivia takes quite a while to scale up there, and Renekton right out of the gate is going to be huge. To your point, Freak, the one real big similarity there is the riposte versus the stun that's hard to see. Renekton's stun is not telegraphed very much either, much like Riven's, so that is the really difficult part of this skill matchup.
You have to guess. You have to guess when the stun comes out.
And it's the really entertaining part, because then you get into the mind games of how early are you going to throw it out. Because after you throw a post, if you don't hit it, Renekton will punish you severely.
He will punish you. So we'll see if that punishment happens, guys. And you can let us know if you think it will as well. As always, tweet at LoL Esports, hashtag SKT win or hashtag OG win, based on which team you think is going to take this one home. But right now, SK Telecom T1, 10-0 in the World Championship. They're going for win number 11. Origen want to win this one, make it 1-1.
Yeah, and then just an interesting matchup in the bottom lane too. Tristana playing against a Spell Shield, playing against the Tahm Kench. Devour can deny the explosive charge from doing damage if you're in Tahm Kench's belly. But at the other side of that matchup, you have Black Shield, and Tahm Kench only gets online once you get 3 stacks. That's when you get a super easy Black Shield to deny any of the effects of Devour or Tongue Lash. So
meanwhile, we have a lot of champions toward the top side of the map here. Morgana moving in for the Tri-Bush binding. He can throw it blind.
Oh, wow. By chance, Marin walks forward. That would have been a flash down. And maybe even a kill if Peke landed Q.
All right, round 2, boys.
Marin's a genius.
Well,
faked him out.
Well, they actually kind of have a bit of a surround on Wolf and Bang, but
is the cooldown back up though?
Binding is going to hit Wolf. They're going to land the stun for Anivia as well. Marin buys some time, and SKT walk away. No summoners lost.
No counter wards though. There's nobody infiltrating Origen's jungle. So right now, Origen is the team getting deep vision. Marin moving in again.
They land the bind into
stun for Peke.
Oh, and the stun lands. Exhaust is there. There's a flash by Marin, but it's not going to be enough. He will go down. Niels is going to get it. First blood to Origen. What a level 1.
And this is why I love Niels. Any other player would finish him off with a hit. Niels knows it's going to happen anyway, so he starts taunting Marin. Just hashtag just tilted, boys.
I would have liked to see the flare as well, but that's just bonus points.
Well, for the second time ever in the entire month of October, SKT have given up first blood in professional play. And now we're going to start with another aggressive jungle invade by the OG squad.
Looks like they're going to find the top lane up top for the 2v2 as well. Can Mithy stop the Krug though? Because Tristana did get the first blood, but it looks like they've gotten away. Oh!
Hits Wolf though.
With the Krug there for SKT duo lane.
But it's a matched lane with Wolf incredibly low and the rest of his team nearby.
And more importantly, you have a potion advantage. 3 potions here on Niels picked up in addition to that longsword, because yeah, he flashed for that kill. He needs to get level 2 so he gets a jump.
Binding hits
Bang, no spell shield, but
damage hit Wolf.
You gotta wait with that with that Devour too. You can't do it too early, because then once you throw him out, it'll still do damage. So perfect timing there from Wolf. And good aggressive play from Mithy.
And looking for the knockup there, Amazing has the red buff. Of course, everyone knows where those guys started.
Amazing showing in mid lane here, though, as he crosses from red to red. So Bangi knows that he has nothing left in the upper quadrant, because his duo started the Krugs, and he saw Amazing go across. So let's take an eye on, keep an eye on Bangi here to see how he reacts. This is one of the most difficult points for a jungler, when you know you've been counter-jungled on one side, and you know that the enemy team knows it as well, and they're going to be defending against it. He might make a beeline to try and take away Origen to blue side, but that's so risky since his top lane is getting bullied here by Niels and Mithy.
Yeah, if he wants to go for that play, he needs EasyHoon pushing in the mid lane, because Niels and Miffy pushing in the top lane. That could be a 3-man collapse there on that blue buff, setting him so far behind. SKT is showing. It's a good Nivea player, winning at the same time.
The other thing that you can do is level 3, Jarvan. He can go for a gank. He has all the abilities necessary here.
No flash on Niels, remember that. Black Shield just went down, so he's down for another 10 seconds.
Niels does have a rocket jump. Bind on Wolf, has to pop thick skin. And all as well, but Bengi's still around. Looks for the knock up onto EasyHoon. He's going to flash away. And now comes the attempt for Bengi. Won't find a thing.
Amazing should be getting really far ahead right now.
OG knows this is coming. If Wolf walks up on this amount of health, just in the lane like that, going for a trade, you know you're about to get ganked. So Origen playing the necessary amount of respect. And yeah, SK trying to brute force a gank here for their bot lane, something they generally don't really do. They play around Marin.
Interesting. Amazing actually showing himself, giving up more information mid, but Bengi takes that opportunity. He places a ward on the blue buff, and he has Smite available. You can go for that really tricky Smite steal, but oh, he already stole it. Nope, that was his that timed out. All right, he's just going to leave him, and they just track Amazing. So Amazing is getting that lead I was looking for.
Bengi just spent all that time literally killing nothing. He didn't kill the Gromp. He didn't.
Scuttle Crab.
Oh, okay. He got sorry. He got a Scuttle Crab and a Trinket Ward. All right. Meanwhile, 2 camps over to Amazing. Marin back in the lane. He burns Summoner Teleport to get into the lane, keep himself alive. But look at this. Bang is alone up here. Just kidding. Bengi's there. Mithy's got to be careful. A great flash. Yep. Not so much alone after all. Great Boomerang Blade. Bengi down a half.
Yeah, Mithy really regretting putting down a Torment soil that deals absolutely no damage rank 1 right now.
Yeah.
And then getting tower aggro.
Bengi taking a lot of damage. Great pickup by Wolf. Amazing. Gonna tunnel forward, but not find anyone to get.
No teleports available from the top laners, but mid laners could make their way top for a dive.
Right now, it's not the case. EasyHoon has recalled, has a Chalice, does have Summoner Teleport. Wolf's at full health, Mithy at half mana.
Amazing also just tunneled over the Baron pit to try and get into SKT territory here. He hasn't gone back to base though, so he has no wards, he has no jungle upgrade for his Smite, and can't get much done. What you need to do though, he's got this lead on Bengi, he's going to try and keep him down. Bengi's going to head bottom lane though.
Yeah, adaptation in this matchup to Niels using the explosive charge on very low HP minions to add 1 bonus damage to it, then proc the minion death for an instant AoE poke, because he knows if he uses it straight on Sivir, it will be spell shield or devoured, so it can't use that, but bang with the reaction, good spell shield, so seeing some experience in this matchup already.
So Bang has actually been spell shielding even just regular minion death ease, which is interesting for him, so he's getting a lot of mana that way, but actually, the way the abilities work though, one gets spell shielded, the other still deals damage, so Bang trying to make that play, Niels plays around it by actually having both spells hit at the same time, still takes damage on the Bang.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Marin is eking out that CS lead versus Soaz, and Renekton getting to level 6 first. Very scary in that matchup. So that's why we're seeing Soaz play so defensively down bottom now. You have to respect the all-in.
All right, well, Peke still pushing EasyHoon in. Shockwave will not quite put him into turret range though. Ulti traded. EasyHoon low on health. Peke though out of mana now. He's gonna have to recall.
Well, he's gonna need some help shoving that wave.
He literally can't even shove it himself. Marin is on the way, but was spotted by Amazing's Tremor Sense, but they didn't realize that there's the flash. Oh! Marin was still dashing. He couldn't land the auto attack to knock down Peke.
Yeah, too fast and not enough.
You almost knocked down Crepo there. He was so scared by that.
Too fast, but not quite furious there from Marin with that gank. He really didn't have the flash. He just EW would have been the correct play right there. Peke getting away with his life right there, but overall, both teams collapsing in the mid lane. This is something we've seen very often in EU LCS from Origen. Mithy pathing mid, dropping a pink ward for Expected on one side, then Amazing or Expected will place another pink on the other side, and it becomes impossible to gank Peke.
It's so necessary since his flash is down, and Nivea, the slowest champion in the game.
Can't capitalize on that bind. Peke is stuck here. Really wants to push.
He denied it a couple. Yeah, 1 minute.
We're 15 gold for that bind, you know. Wonderful stuff there. Peke, though, still not recalling. He's sitting right now on 1,900 gold, so Catalyst here is waiting in the base for him right now if he wants to pick those up as his build. Still just sticking into this wave. Mithy, Black Shield to get through the lane. Neil's level 6 right now as the lane swap back to the bot side. Peke loses the recall, but there's no flash for EasyHoon. No, take it back. It's back up already. I expected it to be down, but it's already back.
Yeah, Bang and Wolf, they did a good job though. Staying even CS, being down this many potions and some experience early, getting like those Krugs early. Now they're actually winning these trades. They stayed even on CS, BF against BF, even though they were laning against triple potion and a longsword in a double range matchup. Honestly, fantastic performance from them to keep that CS even and just nullify whatever advantage OT had in that 2v2.
Keep an eye on the wards. Oh, the wards in the side brush.
All right. Oh, Summoner Teleport canceled, though. Looks like Peke did not want to go after all.
If you want to pull that off, you have to wait for the commitment in an engage down bottom, though. You're never just going to
randomly teleport.
Yeah, randomly teleport it to start it out. A Binding has to land, or Tom Kench has to go all in.
Great pickup by Wolf. Here comes Bangi. Mithy's in a really bad spot. Does not have flash. Does not have anywhere to go. Okay, Niels can live, but it's still a 1-for-0. Great pickup by SKT.
Miscommunication on the teleport, and then great gank there by Bangi. Let's see what else they can get off of it.
A lot of control on the bottom side. Actually, Niels about to be surrounded here. Look how far up Bangi is. Ulti forced just to stay alive.
They're going to get the tower lead off of that kill as well.
Nice play by Marin. Baits out the riposte. You can see plus 14 minions already, so as getting behind in the matchup.
And this is what Marin was talking about in that interview, is like, we don't need to allow them to make those macro level gameplay, shot calling victory moments there on Origen side. We simply want to outlane them. SKT right now 1.4k ahead. Again, another early tower here. And taking a dragon to boot, and that's what we expected from Origen, just playing slow, steady, farm up for late game, but a team as smart as SKT will punish you for that eventually.
And look how quick they're even playing. Land the smite, walk back to mid lane, let Sivir finish it off, make sure these waves are under control, and look at this, amazing. Stalking Marin through the jungle. Marin had ulted to hold mid lane, I believe.
Looks like they are prepping for the dive as they send Mithy up as well.
Turret's plenty healthy though. Summoner teleport up for Easy, and he can defend
down
Marin here. No ulti on Marin. Amazing will pull aggro. Here comes the teleports. Here comes a ton of damage. Holy cow, he's already gone. Amazing. Does flash to get away. The heal helps a bit, and EasyHoon did cancel the teleport.
Yeah, so both mid laners failing teleports on side lanes here, and it is equalized. But the big rotation from SKT, they were already in transit with the duo lane, so the tower doesn't go down afterwards. SKT hold on to their objective lead, and Soaz has to...
He has flash though. A nice black shield stops the knockup, so it doesn't even have to flash away. There's no chance to kill him. There's not enough magic damage in the kit to break the black shield.
Yeah, good play there for Origen, just preserving the flash on Soaz, relying on the black shield against the Tom Kench, and it was actually expected that canceled EasyHoon's teleport in the mid lane. He got stunned out of that because signature move, you're gonna dive top. Well, expect all he has to do is find the Hoon, stop his teleport, because he himself can't follow.
Yeah, not that big a deal. I think EasyHoon wouldn't have been able to get much done up there, but the blue steal is very important against Anivia, denying that resource from Peke in the mid lane. He does get the shove into lane and might be able to wall off EasyHoon from one minion wave, though.
It is good against Anivia, but let's not forget Peke.
Oh, this
here.
Nice play though, force the flash, still lands a stun, amazing. Oh no!
No.
Overextends, he's missing flash. Soaz gets some damage in, and all is well. Nothing too bad picked up, but now look at the bottom side. Soaz has teleport. Marin, once again, being attacked. Here comes the aggro. Wow, a big minion chunk gone, and Mithy had aggro. A nice double slice and dice. More slows in for the team, and they just keep stacking everything in. But Wolf is here for the save. Soaz maybe went a little bit too far. All is well. Man saved. Peke, meanwhile, turned into an egg, and the push comes in. Oh! But Amazing is here! The two-man knockup trades onto Bang. Mid laner for AD carry. And Amazing still in the chase, but no one's around to make this still happen.
Mithy are heading up, but fairly far away still.
Amazing taking more damage than he probably needed to.
The unburrowed range turf right there.
I think it might have still been on the cooldown.
I believe the timer was timed out.
Well, meanwhile, though, Marin back to the bottom lane. Wolf was nearby this time around, though. They know to hide back. Soaz will not find the dive. Meanwhile, top lane just has waves and waves crashing into the turret, suiciding me. Here comes the push towards the backside. Can they find EasyHoon? No.
They found him. He's in the mid lane.
He's in Kench's belly.
In the mid lane.
Yeah, really good dives here set up by Origen. Good execution from Marin to make it out of there alive. Really playing in front of the tower and then double dashing his way out of there. Just in time for Wolf. They did deny the blue buff unexpected. Let's see why he went down here. Just not respecting Bang being MIA. A really good use of Sivir ultimate and aggressive flash to take that unexpected egg.
Yeah. But if Peke was willing to flash, he needed to flash Shockwave, so
The great pickup there by EasyHoon, and okay, that re-engaged to at least trade 1-for-1. A great play by Amazing, so he's getting a much better game than he was in game 1.
Something we've seen from Origen overall, though, where they're setting up a really solid play at one side of the map, and they're just simply not respecting the other side of the map enough.
Wolf and Bang have made very, very quick recalls to swap between lanes, and the Tahm Kench has already saved many alive.
All said and done, the Origen are up 1 kill total right now. And the mind game of when will Riposte come out continues to evolve. So as this time didn't even press it, and Marin didn't even try to stun. Fun to watch them go back and forth with the mind games there. Another giant lead for Marin.
Another interesting point about Marin is that the champions he's been selecting, Renekton and Fiora, over and over here at Worlds, are champions that build into Tiamat. Tiamat is such a crucial part of how SKT control minion waves. It's crucial to their game plan that Marin, as the captain and as the one who gets the experience lead early, is able to quickly clear the minion wave and then make his map movement afterwards to keep up the extra pressure that SKT try and work with. Tiamat already completed here for him, and he has a huge CS lead to work with.
Better damage on a Wolf, but all is well. Bang had popped the ulti to keep the chase going. EasyHoon does have Shockwave, but Mithy is around with the chance of Black Shield. Peke is out of mana, though. He can no longer slow anyone down. Dodges the tongue, all is well. Bot lane's getting pushed in, no one's holding it.
Scuttle crabs are very important, yes. So, 4 people mid for SKT. They're trying to trade bottom lane for mid lane pressure here. And with Peke out of mana, I think they'll be able to make the trade.
Yeah, look at the hesitation from Niels. He pathed actually away from that bottom lane tower into the triangle, saw the pink ward, doesn't have time to kill it, now returns back to the bottom lane. And this is the key difference that we've seen in these teams. Incredibly decisive map movement from Origen overall and SKT. They get away with murder here.
Yeah, that turret is the repercussions of stealing the blue buff. Niels sticks around bottom, doesn't get the turret, and has to make a move up the river.
And they might literally get murder then, as Niels is now beset by a bunch of champions. Rocket Jump comes in, not enough to knock down Bang. Great play by SKT.
Set, little bit of extra pressure, chain reaction. Starting 5 minutes ago when they steal the blue buff, continually attack mid to burn Peke's mana, get him out of the mid lane, no wave clear, and they're able to get multiple objectives off of it while keeping all of their outer turrets up.
Yeah, and this is why this Tahm Kench pick fits so well in SKT's playstyle, and especially in this composition. You have a top laner that likes being alone 1v1 in the fight. You have a Sivir that is utility AD carry that likes quick pushing waves, rotate quickly between lanes. Tahm Kench can show up behind these towers and really find yourself in positions where you usually don't expect to be ganked from. Really quick rotations, really quick pickoffs, and that's the way SKT likes to play. Open up the map, 1-3-1. Wolf, he's somewhere in the middle. Early game with Shen, that's what he wanted to do, defend against these picks. Now he wants to make them with the Abyssal Voyage.
And think about it, these champions all fit the same thematic, and in this game, SKT was willing to trade away that Rek'Sai. And yes, Amazing's had a better game this time than in game 1, but look at what Wolf has done. He's saved multiple teammates now with the Devour. He's made at least 1 pick now with that ulti. And here we go again, easy dragon pickup for SKT and trade for top turret.
They still have time on Origen's side though. By no means is this gold lead that important if you can keep it within the 2,000, 3,000 margin. You have Anivia with the incredibly well-scaling late-game build, really good kiting champion later on too. You have Niels who will scale at least even with Bang, and then Fiora will most definitely outscale Renekton. So SKT, they're playing on a bit of a clock.
Anivia also is troublesome for Sivir as well, as far as AD carries go. So if Peke can hold his own, he is keeping up in CS while giving up turret ground.
And it's a really late game scaling team, of course. Tristana, long-ranged, high auto-tech uptime, and Anivia stacking up both Tier and Rod of Ages, so a lot of room to grow, but with SKT being so good at closing out games, they are ahead. This is risky for Origen.
We'll have to see if Origen gets caught moving up for wave clear. That's generally how SKT gets the most kills at this point in the game. People moving up for wave clear. We see some pings on the map. Wolf in the river.
Here's the thing. Marin doesn't have TP, so they're committing to the split push Renekton top. He's going to try and burn down the turret. Meanwhile, Peke actually moves over there to try and wave clear. So Origen should be able to get this bottom turret without reaction here really from SKT. Because Peke switched over to top lane, though, mid lane does get a little bit of presence.
Marin doing what he actually usually does. He pushes up top, fakes the rotation to mid, then goes back top immediately. A lot of other teams will push up top, try and force something mid, realize it's not working, then move back. He already preemptively keeps moving in between his lanes and always ends up back on the solo lane, pushing, putting pressure.
And it's a strategy that's enabled by that early Tiamat that he always gets on these Tiamat-focused champions. You can annihilate the creep wave so quickly, then go into Fog of War, not give away any more information. Keeps the enemy team guessing.
Schrodinger's crocodile.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, it takes a bird with the eagle-eye vision going back and forth between these two lanes. Becke's been back and forth, wave clearing top, then mid, then top, then mid. He might have to go back there again. Bot lane turret to go down at least.
And while we keep track of all these trades that SKT are making, the whole while they're purchasing wards while they go on these moves through Origin territory. Every time they make a map movement through the jungle here, they're dropping off wards as they do so that in the next 5 minutes of the game, the next 3 minutes, they get more information on the counter moves that Origin are trying to build.
Yeah, an incredibly slow and methodical approach here from SKT. They're not getting any objectives. Origin, they seem fine, just keep wave clearing at their tier 2 towers, just saying, well, we're trading gold evenly somewhat. But eventually, that's when the lights go out, when it becomes dark, when all your current wards fade away. That's when SKT makes the play in the Fog of War.
Origin are looking for that team fight to turn it around. Right now, they're just trying to farm up. As we talked about, the scaling of Fiora, the scaling of Anivia.
Just get Baron wards. That's their only goal right now for Origin. Few wards far in between just so they can figure out what SKT is doing and then pull back again and just try and make a pick, because SKT have overextended. Just like Marin, he may be caught out here.
He's pretty far. EasyHoon does have teleport, but no one else is nearby. There's the ulti pop by Soaz, a flash by Marin to really get himself away. Summon a spell for ultimate.
I think Amazing sidestepped the slice so he didn't proc the dice, and Marin was forced to flash there.
Yeah, when you gank Renekton, you never want to come from directly behind him, because it just enables his escape through the slice and dice. Always attack from the side.
Yeah, Marin wanted a double jump, but through Amazing's play, no dice. Great joke. Shut up.
Well, I saw you set up for it.
Yeah.
So excited.
You just kept talking, delaying it, making the punchline worse and worse.
Well, look at this. SKT, they return to 1-3-1, but they actually have Sivir in the bottom lane. A little bit more dangerous, so Bang is the one who has to retreat to Fog of War after trying to clear the minion wave.
Yeah, look at the difference, though, from Mithy and Wolf. Wolf's helping the strong side of the map here, defending that Baron vision. Mithy is just hovering around his AD carry Niels because he's afraid of a potential teleport, maybe Abyssal Voyage. They don't confide in Niels enough to be able to push that alone, so that means OG is playing the rest of the map 4 against 3.
They just saw Tom Kench on the Scuttle Crab by Baron, though, so they knew how to have a few seconds to try and shove the wave. They rotated towards mid here, fishing for bindings at the turret.
So hard to siege into an Ori, though, at this point in the game.
Poses a lot of threat to these champions, and Origin get 2 caster minions up there before... Oh, they're gone again. And EasyHoon is totally safe in the mid lane.
I think we'll just see a lot of fussle around mid and bot lane, just trying to push that in and secure the dragon. That is probably what Origin is looking for. They don't really want to give up a 3rd dragon. SKT, though.
Abyssal Voyage. Here comes Tom Kench, wall in the side, and here we go. Who's going to get picked up? Stun only hits Wolf. A great rocket jump plus Black Shield means nothing is gained.
That was actually very good communication on Origin. They didn't use all of their cooldowns. Soaz held onto his teleport. Pekka said, I have flash, don't worry, we're going to escape from this, continue pressing. And Origin actually have the minion wave advantage, all 3 on SKT's side.
And he's going to look for Marin right there. Gets one of the... Oh, and he perfectly times the riposte. He stops the stun while getting one himself. He's looking to chase Marin, but cannot land another one. A nice bind on the side, but they just don't have the damage to kill him off just yet.
Wolf is on the way.
Around. Wolf can save. A nice knockup by Bangi. Amazing's in a really bad spot. Eaten up and taken away from his flash. That's a kill.
Miscommunication from Origin. That bind land, they could have killed Marin, but Amazing went in for the play while his Soaz and Mithy were already backing off, so really not on the same page there.
Meanwhile,
some disconnect.
Well, bot lane already pushed in. Bang was totally safe on that bot side. Gets rid of plenty of minion waves. You can see 188 minions on him. 2 item spike already there for the Sivir.
And let's watch this again. Soaz really good identifying that he's first to fight Marin here. He has the minions in case Marin wants to trade. He has his team coming up, and just keep your eyes on that binding from Mithy, if that's communicated or not, because Amazing really wants to go for this dive. This bind lands. At this point, Soaz could be diving Marin.
Also, Kench is trailing Amazing, but he's burrowed, doesn't see him until it's too late. The tremor sense triggers, and he knows
champions coming,
that maybe they were on top of each other. Kench is fairly large fellow.
I mean, the thing is, they don't show up in the minimap, so if he's focusing on what's in front of him, he has to look at his own screen and scroll back down.
All right, no excuse. It was just poor. It was just a poor.
Yeah, just a tiny misplay. That's what we've seen from Origen before. They execute a lot of strategies in the mid game decently well, but then they make this minor slip up, whether it's some hesitation, face checking a brush. So us, nope. Origen this time.
Oh, but he didn't realize who was there. It was only Martin who was hitting it. Wolf is around. Here comes the binding. He's going to miss, though. All the spell shots are going to whiff.
Just cover fire.
Bang's around on the backside. Of course, Bang does have ulti. 2-1-1 on him. Could start another fight. Top side, fairly similar items. And despite the fact that Marin had 2 deaths, he's got so much farm. Soaz, again, looks for the fight. Will land the grand challenge all the way. But look how little damage he actually dealt. The lack of farm hurting him here. And the rest of the team is coming. Here they come for the fight. Wolf is low, but has the gray health. Niels will go down to Bang. Takes the wrong take. And oh, it's going to get worse before it gets better. 3 kills already. It's going to be 4 before long. Amazing. He's going to tunnel away. He will survive, actually. And now Bangi finds the dunk. Xpeke is in a really bad spot. No flash. Shaka is going to land. It's going to be 4 kills easily for SK Telecom T1.
That is such a huge swing. That is so difficult to come back from. This is going to be a Baron on top of it. And then SKT are going to take a commanding lead here. Peke had actually started to move up the river first, but didn't pull trigger the teleport. EasyHoon just teleports right in there, and they cut off Origen as they're trying to come in and help.
Problem for Origen is they're trying to get rid of this split push situation they're finding themselves in by collapsing on Marin first. This is not the first time we have people collapsing on Marin. Look at Amazing and Mithy on your minimap. The problem is, if you force SKT to play on 2 lanes or just a single lane, you will be caught into a team fight. And you look at Niels right here. He's pathing through the brush with no vision, focusing Wolf. Bang! Just takes him out immediately. Just a little bit of damage from Bangi there. And at this point, the fight is lost because Wolf denies the death on Renekton here. Amazing has to path out, and Xpeke, just as we pointed out, isn't even in the fight.
Yeah, Tahm Kench's biggest power is nullifying cooldowns of the enemy team and nullifying damage output of the enemy team. The burst from Niels, his combo was used on Tahm Kench, then Bang arrives and gets to use his full 80 carry combo to win out in that duel, and Wolf still has enough health to survive and go save Marin. Soaz, meanwhile,
he's got enough to go kill off Soaz now as well. Soaz blocks only as slow with riposte, does dodge away from Bangi's knockup and all as well.
Soaz has done a good job of getting himself out of very dangerous situations.
Yeah, Origen correctly identifying Marin as a shot caller and front runner on a lot of these map-wide plays from SKT, trying to collapse him in early before the split push sets in, relying on Xpeke being able to wave clear in a numbers disadvantage, but Marin showing why he's such a smart player. He very rarely gets killed in these exchanges. He may seem to get caught, but he's always manages to find a way out.
Not only does he avoid getting killed, he always earns this, look, 3-level advantage over Soaz, annihilating the minion wave, moving on, and keeping up the pressure. Now down bottom, he's going to try and split push, while the rest of he's
actually fighting Niels.
Keep up pressure.
Niels has to run. Meanwhile, topside's getting saved. Niels is definitely going to die. There's the Origen swag, and just like this game, it looks like they might have their second loss.
Again, SKT as a team, they turn around bad situations in their favor. Marin gets collapsed upon while he disengages. Then instead of letting people base, he trails, finds one guy still trying to base there, Niels on the minimap. He dashed in, got him low, and on the other side of the map, they're pushing in, using On the Hunt for even more pressure. Origen, they just don't know how to deal with this. All they have is wave clear from Anivia, but it's so hard to do that into the Baron buff.
And they slowly keep these turrets alive. They still drop, though, and of course Marin, who had already won the 1v1, getting plenty of damage down to the bot side. He's still got a Baroned up wave. This will be another turret picked up, so SK Telecom up 6 turrets to 2, 9 kills to 3. They've got almost everything they could want in this game. Even Bangi invading into Amazing's jungle while his 80 carries back in base.
They've cleaned up everything outside of inhibitor turrets of the Origen base so far.
I do like what Origen's trying to do, though. They're the first team, really, that tries to fight SKT before they get the entire split push down. Split push as a strategy is very weak when you're trying to set it up. If you get all 3 lanes pushing at once with some wards in between, you generally lose out once you collapse on a single lane. So they're trying to hit Marin before he gets going.
Before those wards come in.
They're just not executing it all that well. And then, most importantly, they don't back off on a bad play. Like on top, sometimes you just gotta let him go. Do that.
And of course, part of it did go well, right? Marin started out 0-2-0, but as you mentioned, the misplays. Now he's 2-2-1. Marin was always up in CS, even with all those deaths. He was routinely outlaning Soaz, and Kobe, you talked about picking for a lane matchup to hold down Riven. Maybe Soaz would do it. This time Marin's doing it, and yes, he won the lane matchup, and this Fiora, down 3 levels, can't win the one-on-ones.
Origen's main goal right now is just holding on, making it 10 more minutes into the game, trying to wait for the scaling. Look at that,
your opponent.
almost a 5,000 gold Baron power play, this one from SKT. Dragon stacking is going to get to be a problem as well. So Origen, the timer is ticking. It's very difficult for them to hold on because SKT have been diligent in keeping up the dragon stacking as well as the lane pressure. Number 4 going to come very, very quickly here. This one will go uncontested, and Origen may make a stand at number 5.
A patient player by SKT, pushing all lanes, warding in between, they back off, and they get another dragon uncontested. So Origen, yeah, waiting for that 5th dragon, maybe sneaking a Baron fight somewhere, trying to pick somebody off. But it's getting incredibly hard in these team fights to start winning them. The shield's coming out from EasyHoon. If that's on cooldown, you still have Devour. Because of the fact that they're actually trailing ahead in gold, Marn is not losing this late game matchup for Fiora into Renekton. So it's very hard to find a win condition right now for Origen, other than a major mistake from SK Telecom.
And this team is not known for major mistakes. SKT, so good at closing out their games. Dragon 4 picked up already, so another minion wave clears even faster. 50% bonus damage to minions for Dragon 4. Bangi starting to really push forward. The wards, very good from SKT right now. Many down to that bottom jungle. Starting to come down to the left side as well. Amazing says, hey, you're taking away my jungle. Could you stop that? Bangi says, no.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna leave around the most annoying jungle smite. SKT take over the Wolf Wisp. Bangi has been unperturbed by the Gragas global ban here. He's performed so well on this Jarvan. The jungle targeting has not been an issue for SKT at all.
Yeah, 3-man knockup in the first game, really winning one of those fights there. Origen right now, they're grouped. If you look at itemization too, Mithy forced to go for, nullification of that Silver ulti with Talisman.
One more hit would do it, and the turret does go down. A flash force away from Peke. And oh, wow, the damage from Bang nearly kills off Niels, and who got a fight on the side. But Bang had already picked off the kill thanks to red buff. So as forced to flash. Boomerang Blade will not quite land, but it comes back, and Bang with dissonance will pick up that kill as well. There's a double for him. The rest of the fight continues. Peke knocked up, stops the Glacial Storm. And now that egg has nothing to do but get hatched. As he's attacked and killed. Back into an egg, back into a Nivea, dies anyway. 3 for 0.
A complete stampede here from SK Telecom. Pops on the hunt. Origen already used their disengage tools to secure that tower. Wall was used, ultimate from Peke was on a minor cooldown. Then Niels is caught up running away. Niels needs to be able to stand still and trade, then maybe he can win. But if Bang gets 2 uncontested autos, at that point, all you can do is
crits. Bang has been rolling deep in crits this game.
Roll the dice.
Better dice than Marin certainly in this game, but he's been wave clearing down to the bottom side. 3, 2, and 1, still the ever-potent split push threat that Origen have yet to deal with all series long.
Yeah, and then once you disengage, usually that's enough distance to cover. But then again, Anivia is so weak. Wall is down at this point. If they had Wall, they could disengage you. Good aggressive flash from Bang, and yeah.
You got the auto crit and reset crit as well.
2
Unlucky.
and 4. Still takes 4 autos. Ended up 50-50, but yeah, just great chase down. And Soaz can't even 1-2 on the AD carry. I mean, imagine what happened last game when Marin fought Niels.
It was an AD carry with the shield there from Oriana, though, helping him a little bit. But at the same time, I like the Abyssal Voyage too against Anivia, because once she disengages, you can close a lot of distance, getting behind enemy lines. All you need to do is slow her down, and that's what Wolf has been doing repetitively in these fights. Marin found himself behind, amazing though. Pincer here from SKT.
Baron is already going down, and rapidly at that, it's down to 1,000 and an easy pickup. SK Telecom, their second Baron of the game. The first one got him a lot of turret kills. This one could win them the game.
With mid lane already open, it should be easy for SKT to keep up the pressure here. Soaz actually will even have a hard time 1v1ing Bang here. Bang doesn't have summoners though, so that would be his one hope. His ward does see Wolf though, so there goes all of that hope.
And he can QSS Grand Challenge anyway. We've actually seen now both times the AD carry getting QSS, or at least Mercurial Scimitar, 4th items because of the Fiora matchup. In later game team fights, Soaz will cut a wave down. That is something gained for Origen, a bit of time. But this wave must be killed to do anything.
Yeah. And again, Marin consistently away from his team. just split pushing in the bot lane. He took away red buff. He's always moving first to keep an additional lane pushing. Never commit to a single lane.
Spell shield's down. Bang gets caught, but eaten away by a wolf. Stun did not land for XPeke. Did not buy him the time they needed. Bang pops ulti and the team runs away.
Yeah, and they can't afford to chase all the way through, make it a potential collapse with Sjokz because there's so much pressure from Marin already in the bottom. Now he's done pushing bot lane, he's TPing top.
Blue trinket even used to spot him. Soaz has to take the long way around. It will buy a bit of time for Origen as the rest of the team is chasing Soaz. He's still trying to run. Command distance buys even more time. Wolf's on the run. Soaz does have one more jump. Gets some damage. Gets a riposte. And he's gone.
Because SKT were pushing all 3 lanes there as well, there's nothing that Origen could get while Soaz was running around. Peke tried to go top and add an extra wave of pressure top, but that's only a few minions, won't kill a turret or anything.
And that's the playstyle.
SKT return bottom, yeah.
Push every lane. If you do lose a fight, which is where on itself for SKT, there's very rare occasions where teams can actually capitalize with an additional objective. You lose a fight around Dragon against it, or you win a fight around Dragon against SKT, yeah, you can take a Dragon, but almost never can you take another tower, and that's why they came into this series without having dropped a single tier 2 turret. Origen with some creative shot calling, some really good laning phases so far, have breached those towers. They've actually gave SKT a run for their money, but still in the late game, SKT showing just complete dominance of macro level shot calling too.
You talked earlier about how hard it is to siege against Orianna. It's even worse siege against Anivia, and SKT have still managed to crack a good portion of this base by pushing those other waves down as well.
So critical that they were able to get that mid inhibitor turret down, because once you have Baron buff now, it just flows right in.
Also, the SKT doing a good job just sieging other lanes than Anivia too. Never commit 5 mana to Anivia lane, because then wall and ult just get too much value. Marin consistently split pushing, and you can see so far ahead.
This is Dragon number 5 that will get annihilated really
quick. Already 1 kill picked up. Make that 2. No, amazing. Just barely slinking away, and a big wall says no thank you. But uncontested Dragon 5 that goes to SKT, no problem. Meanwhile, Soaz doesn't get the memo that the team disengaged. He's going to be an easy kill. Goes over to Wolf.
Yeah. Push all lanes, deny vision, and wait for the imminent face check. And OG were forced to make this play. This was probably their best play, and hope that SKT made a mistake in their warding. But right now, Peke.
As QSS, I don't believe it blocked the double E damage, but either way, Peke forced to run away. Marin now next up in the chase. A flash, there's the hit. That egg's not going to be long for this world. It will turn back into Anivia, and the question is, can Peke make the outplay? Marin, nice stun. Yeah. Can't re-engage the Q to make it stun the target. Beautiful play right there, good knowledge of the mechanics, and now the push continues. SKT inside the base, there's the dunk, it blocks it amazing. A nice shield from Orianna, still on the push forward. Origen forced to run away from their own base.
Well, SKT are going to move right in then and take down Nexus turrets.
3-16, all is well for SKT. Nexus turret number 1 goes down. Dragon 5 picked up. It makes the push easy. Individual play made it all happen. In perfect unison, the swag comes out, and SKT are 1 game away from their 2nd World Championship final.
The synchronized flag spam right there. Probably the best that we have seen yet as well.
I've seen some really good penta icons there in group stages. Add some flavor to the dying Nexus, but overall, yeah, this was one of the signature compositions that Origen ran in group stages. A lot of success found in that Anivia composition, but many people question its use in this matchup because it plays into SKT's strengths. You go for the slow late game approach from Origen. Yeah, sure, maybe you may be good at that, but you just give away too much in the laning phase, get too far behind, and you see how well SKT plays around vision control in between lanes, vision denial mostly. Origen, they only found 3 kills in this entire game.
And unlike the first one, there was no sizable early game lead for these guys. Yes, a great level 1 got on first blood, nice bindings, nice stuns and all that, but you talked about it in the lane matchup. Despite the potion and a longsword lead for the AD carry, despite a bunch of health in the advantage, SKT still held equal or maybe even won that 2-on-2 lane. Bot lane turret actually pretty much died at the 2-on-2 once the swap came in. You saw Marin yet again crush Soaz in the lane, despite Origen ganking twice. That Renekton was 0-2, still up 80 minions, still up 4 levels, still winning the 1-on-1.
Yeah, there was one key matchup where two critical moments really of Origen just going a little bit too far in both these games. One time, Amazing going for a dive on their tower. This time, another dive that went wrong. I think where Amazing made the right play, but the binding from Mithy wasn't communicated well enough when they were trying to kill Marin under his own tier 2 tower in the top lane. You can't afford to make those mistakes, man. Not against SKT.
When you're against one of the best teams in the world, little mistakes will kill you, and it did in that one. So to break down that second semifinal victory, let's send it back over to Dash.
Thank you, gentlemen. Game 2 there for SKT. So looking good in this series so far. We had a lot of questions coming in about how red side teams would adapt to the pick and ban because of the Gragas. So we've now gotten the opportunity to see SKT on their red side as well. They chose to stick with the standard more GP Elise bans and not alter away from it as Origen did.
I think this is the standard purple side. Like, we don't want to lose pick and ban that hard. So you ban the Elise, give them the Rek'Sai, that's doable. I think the way they played it is they gave the Rek'Sai up knowing they want the Jarvan, because you see them take the Orianna early, and I think that's baiting Peke into an immobile mid. So that's where the Jarvan actually becomes more viable of a champion, when they do the Ori Jarvan into an immobile mid.
I think that's definitely true, and not only that, but it shows us something about SK Telecom's priority. Game 1, they banned Tahm Kench. Game 2, they first picked Tahm Kench on the red side. So they're making a trade right now saying that we would rather have banned the Elise, make sure you get Rek'Sai, as long as we get Tahm Kench. And I can't really argue it after that first game and how well Wolf played it, how many of his teammates he saved, the plays he was making with the Tahm Kench ultimate. It looked very, very valuable indeed.
Yeah, Tahm Kench's ability to stifle most aggression, even in the laning phase, when they had to play from a pretty big deficit, because Niels came to lane with longsword and potions versus basically a very disadvantaged Tahm Kench. And even in the laning phase, they were able to stifle aggression.
Yeah, we saw a number of kills saved last minute by Wolf with the consumption of a teammate. Now I want to kind of take a look at how this played out in the early game. As you mentioned, they set up an immobile mid laner against EasyHoon and brought the Jarvan in. But we saw a lot of focus in the mid lane in general, which is not something we necessarily expected with these two teams matching up.
Yeah, I was actually really happy that, I mean, other than the amazing level 2 gank, I think that was a bit excessive for abusing mid lane mobility. But
Amazing's underwhelming level 2 gank?
Yes,
not the amazing level 2 gank.
I'm going to come tax XP gank. But I really liked how they kept going for mid lane over other lanes, and then even SKT followed it with Sivir ulting mid, with Renekton running behind the Nivea mid. Like, both teams were actually throwing a lot of things to kind of like punish these mid laners, because yeah, Orianna and Nivea both scale well, but are really weak during the laning phase of ganks.
Yeah, what I found interesting was we were like 25 minutes into the game, even though there was a lot of focus mid. I actually felt like it was an Origen game as far as the pacing of the matchup, until they continually tried to kill Marin.
Oh boy.
And it always led to just escalating levels of disaster.
Yeah, let's dive into this a little bit, because as you mentioned, Origen looked like they were sitting pretty with a relatively good scaling composition that was relatively even in gold. However, the difference in the top laners, as you watch the CS differentials over the length of the game, becomes very concerning for Origen.
Yeah, so I can see why they were trying to kill him, because they didn't want the CS difference to grow, but this is the second time in a row they tried to kill Marin. The first time was Amazing going underneath the turret. And by the way, even though Someday tried to convince you otherwise, Renekton is a tank in this game. So trying to overcommit with him with just your top laner and a little bit of backup is going to lead to disaster. He gets gobbled up by Wolf. The rest of the chase is failed because Origen was really scattered in the way they approached that. Look how late XPeke was to the party. They tried an aggressive chasing play onto a tank without vision of the enemy jungler, when in reality, Origen was actually doing great to stall out the game. They did not need to make an aggressive move here. Renekton is not like Fiora, and it won't be the big problem as it was last game. Renekton is never going to solo kill you inside your base, even if he gets 500 CS. This was not a play Origen even had to make.
I mean, I think that's true to a certain degree, but they have to play they don't have to necessarily make that play, but they at least have to make it safe for so as to farm. Because in the 2 games we've seen so far, Marin up 147 CS at the end of game 1, 125 at the end of game 2. So honestly, Origen has not been doing a good job of putting the necessary vision down to farm the waves. So they're just losing a lot of CS on the map, while Marin is picking it up every time. And it's creating these massive farm differentials.
I think almost some of this is a bit pure pre-game knowledge. I think Marin knows where Amazing's going, even without wards. Yes, SKT has better like deep wards than Origen does, so he has more information, but even without that like vision, I think he knows, so as is going to be on the island right now, I can push this out, I'm safe. And every single time, yeah, Amazing's mid or bot right now. He hasn't really been showing that much pressure top, and Marin's playing that way, that no jungler's coming top.
So what do you attribute, though, SKT's ability to pick up all this extra CS in the side lanes? Because you mentioned the statistic of how much further Marin is ahead, but when we look at the other two matchups, mid and bot lane, they're relatively even throughout the entire game. So it's really just in that top lane that Marin is picking up those advantages.
Well, it's about how you control the minion waves, right? And setting up situations where you can get long lanes of farm and then shove them back out. And that just shows that SK Telecom is really farming 3 lanes, and Origen is consistently only farming 2. So they're getting a third of their farm goal just chopped right off.
Well, a big punishment in the wave control is they have Tristana. So they can no longer freeze with their AD carry. They can no longer set up these slow pushes because it goes so quickly with the Tristana E. So if they want to make a better kind of minion wave thing, if this is kind of the key that's going to get Soaz back in the game, I think they have to move away from the Tristana.
Faker on your screen making his way into the arena because he will be stepping in for Game 3. SKT is just one game from closing out the series to advance to the 2015 World Finals. We'll see if they can close out the series and to keep their perfect record alive with Game 3 versus Origen. Stay with us.
Right now, SK Telecom T1, 10-0 in the World Championship. They're going for win number 11. Peke, meanwhile, turned into an egg, and the push comes in. Oh! But Amazing is here! The two-man knockup trades onto Bang. Here they come for the fight. Wolf is low, but has the gray health. Niels will go down to Bang, takes the wrong state. With Dissonance, will pick up that kill as well. There's a double for him. The rest of the fight continues. Peke knocked up, stops the Glacial Storm. And SKT are one game away from their second World Championship final.
Welcome back to Brussels and our semifinal series between SKT and Origen. As we speak, SKT is setting up for Game 3, and it's do or die for Origen. First thing we have to address, of course, is the substitution of Faker back into the mid lane. As Origen has been unable to beat EasyHoon yet, they're now being thrown yet another curveball in their fight to stay alive in the series.
Yeah, so I actually feel like Faker's more of a fastball in this instance. I'm going to make a baseball analogy. EasyHoon is the guy who throws a bunch of junk, barely throws over 90 miles an hour, curveballs, change-ups, sinkers, and now Faker's going to come in and throw 101 miles per hour. The adjustment instantly for Peke in that lane could prove incredibly difficult, and there's a chance that this completely closes the series.
So I'm going to make a Princess Bride reference.
Oh, dear Lord.
So you know that scene in The Princess Bride where Inigo Montoya and the Dread Pirates Robert are fencing, and they're both fencing left-handed, and then he switches over and says, "I'm not left-handed," and he switches to his right hand. Well, unfortunately for Origen, they actually are left-handed, so now it's even more imbalanced, and it goes the other way, and the Dread Pirate Roberts gets stabbed and dies.
Oh.
I just feel really scared for Peke.
A pleasant thought, Monty.
But this is Origen on purple side, and they're going to blind pick mid into Faker. This is why I liked Faker in this matchup, is because now Peke is playing all these immobile mids, all these scaling mids, and he's blind picking them into Faker. So they have to either change their pick and ban to where Peke's last pick, or I'm terrified.
Yeah, so you think that there's a distinct possibility they will change their pick ban strategy so that Peke gets that final shot?
Well, what Origen's done is they didn't really adapt to the top lane meta that's been coming out. So I doubt that they'll be fast enough to adapt to this, where they need to be last pick in their mid lane. So no, I don't think they will change pick and ban, but I think that would be preferable for
Yeah, I do have to point out, though, how close the first 2 games were up until the dive that Origen failed in the top lane. The first game was Origen's pace. They had a chance to win. Even 20 minutes into last game, they had a chance to win. They need to keep their mindset right. They cannot get tilted by the appearance of Faker, and they need to realize that they came to play.
True, but you just mentioned that Faker's going to come in as 101 mile per hour fastball. So how does that change the dynamic of the early game? Because they've been allotted the time to stay even with SKT playing a more farm-centric game. With Faker in the mix, that might not be the case.
It probably won't be, in fact, especially because Faker, he has such a staggering champion pool that... Let me just ask probably a question. You had to prepare for SKT in groups. How did you prepare against Faker?
Well, it was Ryu, so I know he would win, so it didn't matter. I pretty much said, Ryu, pick what you want to beat Faker with, and that's how it went. But if I was in those shoes, I'd be terrified, because I'm like, yeah, I get to maybe play against Olaf mid, or Aurelia mid, or Dom Kench mid. Like, I can play against anything. This is a really, really crappy situation to be in when you don't get to counterpick your mid.
Well, I mean, Origen is on the red side, so they have the opportunity to counterpick the mid.
But they haven't.
They haven't. That's the
like
thing.
Here's
the thing they might change if they're thinking, if they get a power pick for Soaz in the top lane, if he goes early Fiora or Darius, then they can actually save that last draft choice. And I don't even think they're going to get much value out of the counter pick, looking at his champion pool, because it's a Nivea or Orianna. But if they last pick mid, do I get the box you're standing on? Segment?
No, you don't get any of that.
So your argument, though, is that since they haven't been playing well in the top lane meta so far, right, they wouldn't necessarily take a power pick for Soaz so early?
Well, they did get the Fiora into Renekton, which I think is great to pressure the Renekton early, because eventually Fiora is going to be better than Renekton. They didn't do any of that. So why would they just start swapping that up and do that now? Like, I don't think they know how to play around the top lane correctly. So I think what Origen needs to be doing is get the early game over. I think their early game standard is pretty poor. Amazing hasn't been getting like lucrative ganks off. They're like pretty wonky, nothing happens. So I think they need to do fast push, get turrets down quickly, and leave Soaz the turret gold. Leave him in the lane that's freezing towards them, and stop giving everything to Niels, because they're going to play around Niels just naturally. They don't need to force it through 2v1s.
You're of the opinion that the team should abandon the strategy that has carried them mostly to this point?
Yeah, I'm just not the biggest fan of it yet.
It's different. I want to see them, and this is obviously they can do whatever they want to do. I want to see them kind of cut their losses as much as they can with Soaz. Put him on a champion he is comfortable with. I hope they force SKT into a choice. Hope to get Lulu through if they can give them Gangplank or Mordekaiser. Just leave them up there and then play around their bottom lane. Even go harder into the strategy that almost worked in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, that would be my curiosity. If you saw something like a Malphite go into the top lane, Orianna in the mid, or the Lulu, as you mentioned, which could be left up, and funnel all of their resources into Niels and see how that manifests either on Tristana or Kalista.
The only thing is, Malphite would be their only option. So say that is their plan, is they give this Malphite something that you could just leave up there as a rock. That means you have to abuse the level 6 TP bot, force that 3v3, because Malphite's going to win every 3v3 bot. And then it means if you win this game, game 4, they're not going to let you have Malphite anymore, because they know your strategy. So I don't think this is something that they can actually reuse without it just being banned out instantly.
I think the final thing to kind of hit is what they can do regardless, outside of picks, right, in terms of their actual play and their shot calling, because we have seen Origen a couple times in this tournament make fantastic Baron calls, which put them ahead in games. They did that in game 1, they didn't close it out. But where can they look to make really decisive calls that might throw SKT off of their traditional and very methodical play style?
I think it's hard to say that until we see the picks and ban phase, because depending on what Faker plays, they could play very differently. If he's playing a low wave clear champion, that answer may be that question that, okay, we can start really putting emphasis on that mid lane, push, 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 try and play for towers with the Tristana, with the fast push like we saw them doing in the first game of the series. So I think it's hard to say that until we know exactly what they're playing.
Right. We are giving Faker a little bit more time to get ready on stage, as he's had to make the substitution. Another curiosity or thought would be, as you mentioned again, leaving some of those larger power picks open. If Tom Kench, Mordekaiser, GP, Lulu, all of a sudden we see a team decide in their possible final game here to leave everything up and really play the game of trading the power picks, how does that work out?
The unfortunate thing is SKT can block, as they did in game 1 when Origen decided to ban out junglers on one side. But if it didn't, I would like to think you first pick Gangplank, because he is the unanimous #1 pick amongst most professional teams. And then you trade that for something like Mordekaiser and X. Hopefully that's Tom Kench or Lulu. If Origen wants to win, it has to be.
All right, well, that's about all of the possibilities that could happen in Champions Life. Let's send it over to Freak, Kobe, and Crepo in the caster booth for the play-by-play.
Thank you very much, Dash. And yes, we are getting ourselves ready to get into this matchup here. Faker is in for game 3. We've seen it happen before when the team is down 0-2, and like, Faker, come in and save us. Now they're up 0-2, like, Faker, send us into the World Finals. Like, and You know, I wonder if
Faker's
it's
just deciding on Origen's fate. It's like, yeah, no.
I mean, yeah. What if Faker like actually tanks somehow? He's like, he's got to go back in.
Faker,
in, like, the
Faker,
dark
Faker,
alternate.
Faker. Marin, hello.
Yeah, no, obviously Marin's the big one.
Marin is
They didn't bring Marin a sub. They didn't need one.
I think Marin is like the best top laner in the world right now.
Oh, really? Wow, that's amazing.
Wow. I want to go into some history.
Bold prediction.
Yeah, we're going to go into some history here because Marin has had a long road to this point.
Okay.
When he came out of solo queue, they picked him up because he was supposed to be the top lane faker. He was the solo queue star. This guy is a shot caller now. This guy does everything. He used to have this weird thing where he would buy home guards really early, and everyone was like, well, I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. But he gets so much of an experience advantage from it. He gets so much map control, and he's able to early buy these Tiamats like every game, so he can instantly clear waves. He just constantly builds up this slow lead over the opponent, and then eventually, oh, you get to 25 minutes, and he's 3 levels up on your top laner.
Yeah, he just has this annoying mannerism of just always getting ahead. And the first time Marin popped on a lot of people's radar is just, when he started getting known for having the second highest GPM in like LCK as a top laner in a very lane swap oriented meta where half the games he wouldn't even be starting in normal lanes, but he had this play style of teleporting early back to the lane, playing around, that advantage mostly on Maokai, just spamming saplings, breaking the conventional lane swap meta back in Korea. So,
and you can't ban him out either. I mean, you're gonna ban away Fiora. Well, he doesn't really care. He's gonna play Renekton. He's gonna play.
Well, that's the thing, though, is I don't feel like Origen have tested him properly, right? Like, coming in, he's a really, really good Fiora player, and they said, okay, we think Kennen's the kind of pick that's going to work, and they tried that. That didn't work. Okay, Origen tried. Let's steal the Fiora. So let's make him play Renekton. That didn't work.
You can't just pick one champion and then be like, okay, that's gonna work. You have to focus around top lane.
And they tried that last game. Renekton was 0-2. And then it broke apart anyway, right? Like, no matter all these things that Origen keeps trying to hold down Marin perseveres.
See what they can do this game. Origen backs against the walls. They need to make this one count.
We're going to see the gangplank here. And just kill Faker. Plain and simple. We kill the Faker, then we move on.
Down 0-2.
They've got the support. They need to rally now. I've seen my fair share of reverse sweeps.
You guys are experts on this matter. I don't know anything about reverse sweeps whatsoever. Never experienced
one. I feel
one.
the Cloud9 vibe flowing through Origen right now.
High rips off his jersey. Fills in for XPeke.
I like the Kench ban.
Who's
right.
the game
So
anyways?
Rek'Sai, Mordekaiser,
both up.
Gangplank.
Yeah, SKT banning out Mordekaiser. This is what we've seen very often. 2 target bans,
Yes,
1 OP away.
GP.
We'll take Gangplank.
So they give him Rek'Sai. Usually the pick and ban start very similar to how they did over in game 1, but this time around Origen doesn't have those target bans against champs like Azir they had before, so those champs are up for the second round for SKT. It's not a great champion for XPeke. Meanwhile, the Tom Kench that went early first round, that one's gone now.
Now looking at Amazing's choices for jungle, though, it is pretty difficult because Evelyn has been his next go-to, but Evelyn into Rek'Sai is so annoying because of Tremor Sense. You lose out on a lot of the advantages that she does bring towards the mid game and the late game, trying to move around for flanks. You can almost never get a flank off. You can almost never get the surprise off.
I like what Origen's hovering right here, picking the Lulu, which you need to. You can't afford not to. This is one of the compositions they actually did the best on protecting Niels. It also fits well into, you can let Lulu slightly lose against Marin in the top lane. You steal away the Alistar, and the Tom Kench is already banned. So pressure on SKT, and more importantly, you hide your jungler until the next rotation, and maybe you can get something nice out of there.
Niels has been such a huge star for this team. I like what Origen is doing. Like you said, playing around him, getting Lulu to buff him up. Put all their eggs in that basket and see if Niels can outplay.
And as the analyst has mentioned, counter-picking against Faker. This Lulu is a flex, so Origen can wait to that last spot to realize, does it go to Soaz? Does it go to XPeke? And making sure these matchups look correct here. Origen can pick jungle and AD carry next. SKT looking to steal away that Tristana, and with Tom Kench gone, right back to Shen.
2 global moves already for SKT. So Origen, when you have a Lulu on your team, you want to group up, you want to get the team fight, you want to be able to buff up the other members of your team and go for the 5-on-5 team fight. SKT already have multiple tools to move around the map and try and continue to play with multiple points of pressure.
And they steal away the Tristana, which means usually a team that runs a Lulu composition against a AD carry, hyper carry, ends up opting in for the Jinx. And they already have really good answers to that, with the Taunt Flash, with the Burrow. So maybe Yeah, Origen will have to stray from the strategy and try something else.
Yeah. Plus, if they are pulling Origen around the map, Tristana will quickly take down those turrets, and SKT will look to rake in that money.
I want to see Lee Sin come out of Amazing. Just get some forward pressure, some engage, some creative gank paths, because you can go over walls and surprise your enemy. Because so far, every single time Bengi has been reading Amazing overall, he's not been able to find any ganks. SKT has been doing well, dodging most of them, and the most of the ganks that works is when he goes over the walls and surprises people with his pathing.
And Origen gonna go ahead and stack up some wave clear. Lulu in the solo lane, Sivir off onto one of the sides. The Lee Sin does come through here. So Origen hoping to withstand the early pressure, but their late game is really not here right now. I don't know what they're gonna pick up to make that all work.
I don't think you even draft an insurance policy for late game. I think you go all in for mid game for Origen. Try and hit that mid-game spike of 2 items, Sivir, buffed up with Lulu. Go for the playmaking with Alistar and Lee Sin.
I think we'll see Lulu mid and maybe a Darius or Fiora top lane here. Overall here, coming out of SOAS in the end. Just trying to snowball top lane, play wave clear. Because you only played it, if you lock in double wave clear mid and bot, generally indicates that you want to get a top lane carry out of there.
Oh, well, you said maybe cash in on early mid-game leads, but Rumble is one of the kings of early game. From that top side, winning team fights whenever you want with Equalizer, but it is offset by Faker, having a hard scaling Rise.
Rise can also be dove by Alistar fairly early on. Rise is fairly squishy, doesn't have any dashes either, so if the bottom lane can make some sort of play, I mean, on these 2 champions, it was Amazing and Mythy who were able to come up with solo kills versus NL.
So a whimsied Lee Sin or a whimsied Alistar, certainly good ways to get a fight started if that is indeed mid lane Lulu here. The hovers now for Origen. They know SOAS up against Marn. And finally, it's a matchup that I think Origen can come into and think they can win the one-on-one. Rumble not known for his 1v1. The 1-4 sort of setup for SKT, not as good with Rumble here. So Origen, can they break the map open?
Yeah, they need to break the mold though, because right now they're opting into a composition that requires them to play around the top side. And every single game, they kind of default back into the play around Neil style. Even if they briefly play around SOAS for a while, they really need to get that snowball going. SOAS now with the Gnar pick, picking for a phenomenal split push lane. One of the strongest split pushers in the game because he can really control the distance he keeps his enemies at.
Also a decent team fighter though, of course, Mega Gnar. So a well-rounded pick for SOAS here in Origen. Have some playmaking. They have a lot of gank pressure from a lot of these different lanes, a lot of movement speed. And then it can come together into the 5-on-5. SKT though, have such a suite of powerful champions. The damage output here from Rumble, Rise, Trist is a lot.
Pretty long curve though. They have a really big spike early with the Rumble level 6, but if you thwart that Rumble and you can keep him down in the lane, then SKT become very late game focused in their composition, and we may see a different Origen proactive in the mid game. Get an advantage, especially Amazing on that Lee Sin again.
That's definitely going to be the key point for Origen. Can Amazing create some early game action with Lee Sin? Bengi will be lurking around with Tremor Sense, so they have a wide area to look for Amazing's position and set up for counter ganks. So you have to be very careful when playing against Rek'Sai, especially in the mid game where she gets an advantage with her ultimate, getting right back out onto the map.
There's this tiny window where Lee Sin hits level 6 and the support is sitting on level 4 or 5, especially if Wolf is playing Shen. That's when Amazing has to strike, get a gank behind, kick somebody in the lane before Stand United becomes available, and then try and snowball on that.
Snowball
advantage.
the Sivir lane.
We'll see if the Sivir lane can be snowballed, and if you guys at home think it's going to happen, if you think the ganks can originate from Amazing, then tweet #OG win. Or if SKT makes it 12-0 and heads into their second final here at the World Championship, it's #SKT win. Here we go, everybody. Game 3 here in Brussels. Who's going to the final?
I am.
Me too.
Yeah, cool. You coming, Kobe?
I mean, both of these teams could very well go.
Who's playing in the final? None of us. The home crowd
says Origen.
Crowd would like it to be the case.
Or RET or Eskigen is going to win this game, according to the crowd.
Neil says Origen.
All right, I want to see this. I want to see SKT make the same mistake, so at least we see it once. I don't want to see it punished where they leave their top side Gromp double jungle exposed to a delayed invade. So at least next to be like, I'm right. Because early ward came out here, I believe from Marn in the top lane.
SKT showing a few different things. Niels does get the reset. Well played. But when that second one comes down, that will reveal if there's a Gromp start. Sivir Alistair, one of the very worst duos at taking Gromp. We'll see if that ends up being their start here. Every game has actually started with Origen having a very good level 1, whether a first blood or a 3 buff in the same game actually, or just being on the right side of the map at the start. SKT looks to not be allowing that this time around. So as an Amazing going to be double jungling their red buff, or maybe the Krugs.
SKT looking to stop the Gromp.
Looking to stop, but they're going to walk into a ward. That's risky. They have no trinket ward available anymore. And again, look at the river where SKT is doing that Gromp right now. They technically could get delayed invaded upon by Amazing, and so as here. Go for a kill, get the Gromp away. So they're somewhat greedy in the trinket usage.
I do like what Niels and Mithy did there. Just even though they knew there was a ward on Gromp, they just stayed around it so that Bang and Wolf couldn't go grab a small minion somewhere else. And it's going to be even lanes, standard setup here. Taunt does miss.
Wow. But already Bang getting a giant chunk out of Niels. Stun doesn't mean a whole lot against Chen, who can heal himself.
But they're fighting an Origen minion wave here. The Origen caster minions were attacking SKT members.
This is one of the reasons.
Lightly got ahead there.
One of the reasons that you want the Shen to not do a camp and just stop them so you can skill taunt early instead of the Q and just go for aggressive trades. As long as you trade on the AD carry, you're always in favor. Obviously, taunt doesn't connect, and then they really use the minions well in their advantage on Origen side, but they're still being zoned off here.
Level 2 first. Bang doing a great job of pushing in already. Rocket Jump has been skilled. Meanwhile, Marin versus Soaz up in the top lane. Soaz already level 2, but only with 3 CS.
Oh, didn't get it. No hyper.
No hop. Nothing gained up. Niels and Mithy find level 2. Will he learn heal? Looks like he learned headbutt instead, because no heals are coming out of Mithy right now.
Probably is hovering on the point. Mithy likes keeping that
hovering.
point hovered until somebody expects you to take heal. You see Bang and Wolf, they will play with respect up until the point they see the first heal come out. And right now they just want to poke down. Mithy did get a surprise kill on Alistar before, skilling a random headbutt there on level 2.
Bangi is also slightly ahead of Amazing as far as camps, and he's going to end up bottom, whereas Amazing is going top side. So Amazing is going to go with top lane focus this time around.
And they ping the ward.
They ping the ward.
Amazing knows where the vision is, but the question is how much can you really have happen?
He has Trinket Ward available, so he can pull a Safeguard Trinket Ward.
So as jumps in, lands
it
as well.
Really early, though.
And nothing happens at all. Marin playing with proper respect and knowing Bangi's in the bot side.
He knows something is up right now. He knows his jungler is in the bottom side of the map. They can roughly deduce where Amazing started, and more importantly, never will a Gnar randomly hop in front of you in that lane. It's a sick mind game if it works, but there's no other place on the map either where Amazing could gank. That's the problem right now.
Especially in a matchup like Gnar versus Rumble, which is so swingy. It's very snowbally. If you do get behind and Gnar can get to the Hex Drinker early, you can punish. Otherwise...
Wolf with some Fog of War play, leaving Bang 1v2 in the lane, just imitating a roam here, just putting some pressure. You don't necessarily see what that causes, but that causes Pickett to just play slightly more passive in the mid lane whenever that gets called, until he shows back into the lane.
And look at Bangi.
Is going to turn mini and have to play very safe now.
Beautiful by him. Slow's not quite going to land for Marin, but Bangi can look for the knockup. Will he burn flash for it? Yes, he will. And that's first blood just like that for SKT.
As soon as you get smited with the Chilling Smite, you got a flash there for Soaz.
And Bangi just tells Marin to hang on, waits a little, drops a pink ward immediately, knows he's not spotted, knows he can go for that play. And then you can see the player cam already on Soaz there, just almost facepalming, so like not going too great. Now he has to use his teleport. Get back to the lane, and that initial gank from Amazing was so important. They had to stick or do some pressure at least.
Amazing, meanwhile, trying to counter jungle on the bottom side, but he will get spotted out by Faker.
Just used his ward, too.
Okay, Ghost Pop Faker takes the Q. Peke's nearby. Could use Help Picks and Glitterlands to do some damage. Faker loses Ghost for nothing. Turns out all right for Amazing, but Bangi's slinking around to the side. He's going to know Amazing is right there fighting the Raptors. Of course, Bangi is flashless. But Faker's in range. Good ward hop. Amazing's okay. Just bookkeeping right now, but it's a small lead for SKT. The first blood putting them ahead. Nice taunt onto Mithy. Good chunk of damage here.
They can't trade back. Not into a full minion wave. Niels getting some mana here for wave clear. Yeah, look at the base though. If you see 47 CS on Niels, that means one more wave and then he can get a BF sword. That's why they're just taking some damage, just trying to push it as aggressively as they can.
Yeah, he wants that cannon.
Yeah.
Got it.
55 CS is the mark of a BF sword.
Look at Bengi though, he's circling down around bottom side now. Another short taunt.
Ooh, good chunk on a Bang though. Of course, he's going to recall himself pretty soon. Bang's only one wave away from getting it.
Gotta be careful. I mean, going for these greedy trades or just trying to poke Niels low enough for him to stay, that could turn into a 2v3 really quickly.
It's actually a fairly risky invade there for Bengi. I don't think they saw Amazing up top side again. But he is able to get off the prompt counter jungle there.
And Bengi's really just running circles around Amazing. This is at least his second Scuttle Crab kill. He's already got a first blood and is still tied in farm right there. So great play by Bengi so far.
Look at your minimap. Niels wanted to get one more wave because he didn't want to sit on a single BF versus BF. He wanted to push one more wave in the bottom, but Wolf pathed into the bot lane, cancelled Niels' base, and now Niels is behind on the play, even though Origen bot lane were winning 2v2, so really good cancel there from Wolf.
Could mean a lot of tower damage with Tristana coming back with her BF sword.
And Mythi already leaving too. He's going to support SKT. Probably wants to drop a couple of wards there on either side.
So I was looking for the play though. He's close to Meganar, is level 6 as well. Marin just takes a chunk of damage. Now there is a difference in potions. Bang has 1 to the roughly 4 of Niels. That might not mean much though.
OG's looking for a top lane dive. Mythi's pathing all the way to the top lane with no boots whatsoever. Sitting on side stone. Went from bottom lane all the way to top try right now. They're looking to counter gank. This could be big.
And the Meganar is traded with the equalizer. The wave goes away and Bangi's already coming. Soaz does not have to worry about Bangi's flash just yet. Nice flash to stay alive. And now here's the team. Soaz will survive this. Now who's going to get picked off? Amazing down to half. A great flash by Marin. A pulverize will land on a Bangi. The smite as well. There's not a lot of moves to be made. And Amazing lands it. A Red Lady strike for a kill. Game back to tie.
Down bottom, let's see if Niels can handle himself alone. SKT know that he is by himself.
Marin has teleport. He can't let the wave get into the tower.
He has to clear this here, and he's going to allow it to push forward. And now Wolf can walk in. There is a minion wave. How good is his spell shield against the taunt? There's enough that nothing happens.
All right, Niels is able to pull it off.
And this is mostly because Faker is running Ghost Flash, so the teleport that Peke has, he could have done that. It couldn't get cancelled. Faker was not in range, so the teleport from Marin could be matched there by Peke, and here we see Amazing. Level 6.
So the play won't quite find Marin. And as I think about that play on the bottom side, I think it was Wolf trying to force Peke's TP, trying to scare Niels, saying, I need someone, I need someone. But everyone properly reserved, no big pickups there.
But that move, so much invested into that move. If Mythi didn't get any assist there, it would have cost them so much. But he arrived right in time. He actually read beautifully what SKT was setting up. So Origen with, a really good shot call there. Having the support Wolf from bot to top with no boots, that is a ballsy call.
It's definitely bold, but as Alistair, it pays off.
Soaz
for Bengi though.
Soaz is also earning himself a CS lead now in the top lane while he's pushing this minion wave. But Marin's got a big wave that he can pull back pretty soon here.
We're going to see Bengi just running away, going, of course, for the standard Cinder Hulk on that Rex side, but Amazing really trying to make the early game work. We talked about how they can't wait for Ryze to come online, so a Warrior Enchant Lee Sin.
Yeah, and then on top of that, Soaz actually parting from the traditional Gnar builds that we've seen so far, mostly because they haven't played into any Rumbles. Usually early Frozen Mallet, early Black Cleaver, but Soaz going for a Hexdrinker, avoiding that all-in for Marin, and then having enough damage to kill him afterwards. So
yeah, Hexdrinker is crucial in this matchup. Got to get some magic resist versus the spell penetration early Rumble there.
Marin's just rushing for that Leandri's Torment, though. Blasting Wand already there, has First Blood, has 72 CS. This is a very scary Rumble.
Yeah, Origen just opting into more power to skipping the Average Blade just to get another pickaxe, more trading potential, so they want to put pressure on these matchups. Hopefully, put enough pressure that they can break. Bengi, though.
He got pinged out. They did see him. Soaz has to be careful here going for that ward.
Bengi will clear off the ward. Takes a chunk of health, and he's got to be careful. The Dog's Zone's come through.
That's a lot of damage.
By Soaz takes a lot of pain for that. Nearly popped the Hexdrinker. If that did get popped, that cooldown could have meant to dive. But I think the shield will be enough to deter SKT for now. Of course, Marin does have the ultimate.
And Origen can't afford to go top again because Shen can always match their gank, so they really want to gank the Shen lane first, take that tower at least, force the ulti perhaps, get something done there. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, though, Faker has been starting to push in XPK though on that rise. He's uncontested, went to 94 CS. Bang gets comboed, should be fine.
That's a missed time though. Of course, Niels had just used Q to clear the wave. If the communication was there, that's 300 free damage on a Bang.
Meanwhile, deep wards. SKT have been able to sneak them in on both sides. We just took a look at Bangi as he went over the back of Baron Pit. Bottom side was also warded up.
Yeah, if your jungle is compromised, you may as well move your jungle straight into the lane and deny Bang the opportunity to push this wave. That's what Amazing is doing right now.
We're gonna look for it. Nice buster shot to buy some time away from Amazing with a flash into the kick, into the Q. Wolf goes down, well played. Summoner Heal keeps Amazing alive, and 2 kills now for Origen.
Love watching the original Lee Sin players. Junglers who have been playing this champion for so long. No hesitation there. Kicks him right into the wall for the stun. And Origen pick up another kill to even up the gold lead.
Meanwhile, one-on-one in the mid lane, Faker getting plenty of damage out. Flashes for the follow. Looks for Pekka, can't quite get the damage. But it is plenty dealt right now. Faker shoving the wave in.
Pekka should be able to wave clear.
And another play to be made up at the top side. Rek'Sai already ulted down to the bot, so now it's the Shen ult to save Marin. But plenty of slows come through. A great dodge on the equalizer. Soaz trying to get away. Will be taunted, is burning down. Taking plenty of pain. 500 health still up, walks away safe.
Great solo play there by Soaz to take down a long cooldown from SKT.
Amazing. The team is still coming though.
His team's coming, but Soaz really, really well played. Still had Hexmaker available to avoid that barbecue there in his top lane. Trying to turn that around. Wolf still stuck.
Oh, Peke just used his teleport mid.
Yeah, he's going to push in mid and deny some waves from Faker. If Faker walks top, though, he's going to lose a ton of gold out of the mid lane, so he's going to go back to that one. Peke safe enough wave clearing this.
Peke has to be careful. This is a point where he's died a lot when his team is making a 3-man play on the top lane for a dive or a push, and he overextends just a slight, tiny bit to push that mid lane.
He should be hovering on the top side of the map because they just got deep wards in on SKT's blue side.
So they spot a lot of people. Bangi's noticed, but he sees Mithy.
SKT could actually opt for a dragon play too. Marin, once he gets level 11 on Rumble, with Liandry's finished already, such a potent carry in dragon fights, especially with that rank 2 ultimate there on the equalizer.
Still some dread in the bottom lane. Wolf spotted. Here comes Bangi. Here comes Bang. Oh, the flash knockup. Niels ults and flashes out. Now Mithy's caught, but pops his own ultimate to stay alive. And all is well for the Origen duo lane. Bangi's time not rewarded.
Amazing is on bottom side as well. Maybe SKT try and force the dragon anyway. You can see what they're hoping for there. They try and go for the gank to gain advantage in the lane, at least chunk down the duo lane. But Origen actually very healthy and we're able to avoid that gank pretty well.
Faker starting to flex though in this lane. Tyr and Rod of Ages both done, and they're stacking up, and he's already starting to win some fights. Now Wolf getting attacked. Great kick, great knockup, beautiful play by Amazing. But now Mithy is caught out. He's on the wrong side of this fight. Niels can buy him a bit of time, but here comes Faker, here comes Bang. Good flash by Mithy. But now Amazing's on the wrong side of this fight. Faker's found him. Faker's got the damage. Faker gets the kill. A big mistake from Amazing.
Yeah, Amazing trying to collapse, but his mid laner Pekka was still clearing that wave there. Got a little greedy. Really solid kick move there. Isolating Wolf, but that was just...
I think that was Amazing getting greedy, not Peke.
No, definitely Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing's fault there. Just
their bottom lane
his mid lane to come, but just
gotta
communicate.
And for every 2 good plays Origen makes, they make a bad one. SKT not as prone to those kinds of mistakes. You see that fight again.
This was so good though. The burst from the Brutalizer Lee Sin, full combo right there from Amazing. And they're able to get out after it. Mithy's going to flash the rocket jump here.
And then right here, Lulu just walks back up to the lane. Amazing's still going down.
It's probably just a little bit error in his communication. He sees Pekka start the pathing. Usually then you extrapolate, well, in 10 seconds he can be there. I can bait Faker, another shield, EQ to slow him down. Maybe we can collapse, but I'll stem a dragon. And that's what Origen generally have been like. Really solid plays, a couple of nice ones in a row, but then they release the pressure. You can't choke somebody out if you give him some time to breathe every 5 seconds for every 30 seconds you choke them, because eventually you're not gonna pass out. Whereas SKT, they'll just keep choking you and eventually you'll pass out.
And this is going to be the next attempt for this one. Marin has popped ulti, but with no minion wave there. Amazing, afraid of taking aggro. Does take a couple of harpoons to the backside, and Marin navigates away from the 1v2. Now Mithy attacked by Bangi. And the Rumble's close by. Red buff is on, so Mithy slowed down. He's getting more and more damage, more and more health is gone, and a smite kills him off. Huge misplay, and now the fight continues. Peke also limps in. He shouldn't have. He goes down, 2 for 0. Bot lane turret dead as well, and it's getting worse.
Another dive here potentially on the hands of SKT. Really surprised that finish that part later, because Faker wants more.
He's gonna get more. Bengi's got aggro, Marin's got the damage. Shenel to make sure it's all fine and dandy, even though he's not at the tournament, and a double kill for Marin.
Yeah, I'm surprised Mithy didn't opt to take the Scuttle Taxi home. Just W to the Scuttle Crab, then walk away, but he probably was afraid of a collapse there from Faker, but...
It felt to me like they were trying to bait, because he didn't immediately headbutt Rek'Sai away or anything there. So I think that Origen were trying to bait that in, and they thought he was alone for some reason.
It's not the case, and it's now a wide open game. SKT up nearly 4,000 gold already 17 minutes in. The games are getting worse and worse for Origen fans here. No turrets, no dragons. Very little to say for these guys.
Yeah, SKT they just capitalize so well off certain like minor, mistakes. Mithy basing in the enemy jungle, getting stopped, and then they want to turn that around. Just didn't quite get it, and really good roll from Faker. Faker right now pulling ahead in this Lulu matchup already.
Forcing the flash away now. Amazing looking for the play, but Ghost makes him run pretty fast. Faker knocked back towards the turret. A great insect by Amazing, and it does become a kill. Again, good plays can happen for Origen, but they keep letting up the pressure.
Yeah, I really like Amazing's Lee Sin though. This is exactly what they needed. Some early ganks, some creative plays. He's simply perfect execution on that kick flash into Spec and predicting it with the Q2. Probably wanted to see that more in game 1 and 2.
Meanwhile, they're able to gain an opening here. First turret down on bottom lane, and Soaz has presence on top side. So he's pushing in a minion wave himself. They just need to avoid confrontation in the middle of the map. Everybody's on the way top side, so Bengi's now the one who has to run away.
And he's going to. Bit of a Q there, not going to mean much from Soaz, who is going towards Frozen Mallet, so this Gnar slow machine will come out at some point. But Peke forced away by Faker, the 1v1 lane. The pressure from this Ryze, who's still scaling up, is going to mean mid lane outer could die soon. Here comes the teleports. Peke is back in action. Wolf taunts a little bit far, flashes as well. Now can the team catch back up? Niels with popped ulti. Matthew's coming around. Here's the auto attacks. And that's going to be the kill picked up. Nice one for Origen. 5 to 6 in kills. Now will they find more? Oh! A massive knockup by Mithy, and now forced to run backwards. He's already popped his own ult. Couple of heals come through, but Faker's back in action. Here's the equalizer to cut off the retreat, and Mithy will be an easy kill to pick up. Marin's on a rampage, and Bang is on the chase.
And this, for me, is one of the most impressive traits that SKT have. They manage to very often turn around a bad situation into at least an even, if not a good one. They get 4v5, they still go for this fight now. Bengi canceling Amazing.
And they're gonna get that second kill. You said as good or better, and it's gonna be better. Now Niels forced to run away, flashing under his own turbo. Faker says no thank you, I want this kill anyway. Make that 3 picked up. Now Soaz joins the fight and says, hey guys, make it 4. And they make it so. There we go. Massive lead SKT.
The way they juggle the tower aggro, re-engage, and turn around fights seemingly so easily 4v5. It just reminds me of that one push they did the last time they were at Worlds 2, taking like 3 towers, 1 inhibitor at 40-minute mark. They're just so good at this game.
They are, and especially the point you bring up about turning around a bad situation into a winning situation is so impressive, because so many teams, it's basic human nature to fall into the sunk cost fallacy, where you lose someone or someone on your team gets cost and you feel like you have to make up something in the situation because you've already invested something there, yet it's a low percentage play for you and you end up making it anyway. But SKT make those based off of the cooldowns already used by the enemies. Here's the continued chase here.
I mean, just complete commitment. Shen ulti pop to make sure they're all there to lock him down in time.
But look how calm and collected they play this too. Just perfect papping. Bang here finds Expecka, so that's what we didn't see on our screens. He drops out, early some tower aggro, Soaz drops eventually, then they take the tower. Cool, calm and collected. And SKT, they're just so good at waiting for some of you guys to drop, then win a 4v5. They've done it so many times. Or if you're doing Dragon, they pick one of you off.
It's actually pretty funny too, because that's something that like con men will use, and when trying to pull off a long con, it's a part of human psychology. They'll get you to invest a little bit before going off on the final take.
Take a loss so they can win more in the end.
They get the mark to feel like they have ownership of the situation.
SKT, great hustlers in this
Getting
one.
dark here.
Up 5,000 gold, taking Origen for all their worth.
Of that.
And now Faker is in. Soaz has no chance getting away. Hex Drinker, you barely even saw it. Faker missed the skill shot, but gets the solo kill all the same. And it might be more.
Well, Amazing's gonna be on the run here. Bengi's Tremor Sense does see Mithy as well.
And at this point, Origen's composition had a clear purpose and goal. Get Soaz ahead, 4-1 split push, then eventually go back into team fight. Soaz couldn't get ahead. First gang got sniffed out, then Bengi came back with a beautiful return gang, dropping the pink ward on the way out. That was one element of Origen's team going forward, and then they couldn't make the other part work. The 4-man squad couldn't find an opening, couldn't find an on-the-hunt rush. Now SKT himself in prime position to take yet another win without dropping a single game.
It's impressive what SKT are accomplishing here at Worlds, but it's also impressive what Origen have accomplished this year. This is a team, well, let's see if Soaz can actually get a kill on Faker here.
Accomplishment, let's see. Accomplishments, killing Faker has happened once so far this game. They might double it. Soaz chasing way too far.
I'll take Wolf instead.
All right, well, less valuable kill.
Wolf is sacrificing his KDA.
But back to what Origen have accomplished this year. They've had such a crazy run. This is a team that was just formed. Peke put it back together. They worked their way all the way through the Challenger Series with goals of just being a mid-tier EU LCS team. And they've made it all the way to semifinals at Worlds.
Absolutely incredible. Definitely an amazing setup here by Origen. And a good run all said and done. SKT, of course, won a world championship in their rookie year as a team, so hard to beat that. And SKT looking for their second, actually, right here. Looking for their 12th win, their ticket into the grand final. The final without dropping a single game.
It's so hard right now for Origen to really come back. They're choked out of vision in their jungle. Baron's about to go down. They have almost no winning plays. And the few plays that they have where they get a tiny bit of advantage, they just invest too much. As we saw earlier, they get a kill on Wolf, but again, they can't capitalize on objective. Why not? Because SKT is always pushing you. Well, then you go for a fight. You just use too many ultis to kill the support. SKT will turn that around and use 4v5, so Origen pretty much drowning right now because there's so much vision that the only fights SKT is willing to take is winning fights right now.
Pretty much every fight SKT could take would be a winning one. They're up 8,000 gold now in this game. Looking to close out the series 3-0. It's only 24 minutes in and the lead is already this huge.
Origen just setting up the reverse sweep story to be that much more impressive, I feel.
And they're hoping it's more than one best of 5, right? They're going to reverse sweep series.
Well,
next year.
SKT are closing the loop. Pressing in on all three. Oh, here comes a OG.
Ooh, nice kickback. Does knock up 2. A bit of damage from Soaz, but an equalizer.
They got Marin.
Doesn't mitch much. Now Marin. Zonia's Hourglass takes a bit of damage. A nice pickoff there. A missed equalizer and a good capitalized by Origen.
Yeah, where's Faker in all of this? He's I think Faker just took a red buff.
Not even that. He was just in the top side.
They were,
had to run back
they were
towards mid.
split pushing. They were pushing all 3 lanes. Now they collapse into mid though, baroned up minions, and they take it.
Oh! Whoa! The long con 4v5. How about we push mid? How about they pick off Mithy as well? Luluwalt means nothing. More flash to run away, and Origen routed out of their own base in a fight that again started 4v5. And Faker finds another one. Soaz will try to reach Meganar and buy a bit more time for himself, but look at Bang. Look at his damage. Bangi will pull aggro. There's the flash. There's the kill. How about a couple more? Amazing goes down, and Bang refuses to be stopped there. 6-0 and 1 in this game. Bangi running away, thankful that minions are there to pull the aggro. And now a teleport comes in. Marin wants Soaz, and he's gonna find him. Look at the flame spitter dealing all the damage, burning his little top hat to the ground, and Soaz will die. Potentially his last death of the World Championship as SKT are already onto the Nexus turrets. Niels goes down, 4-3, but it's not going to be enough. Faker wreaking havoc inside the base. There's turret number 2. There's no stopping him now. It's time for SKT to make it to the finals undefeated. no team has ever made it to the final without dropping a game. SKT could be not only the first double world champion, but the first undefeated world champion in the history of the League World Championship.
Yeah, this match kind of embodied how a lot of people saw this entire series play out. Quick-paced game where just SKT outmatches, outmaneuvers Origen, but we can't forget, especially game 1, just Origen doing a lot of great things, giving SKT a run for their money, but now, especially in game 3, you saw the mental aspect way into, not on Niels, he's always smiling.
The mental aspect is key here. It's so taxing to play against a team like SK Telecom that are constantly pushing 3 lanes, constantly making cross-map plays. They force you to reevaluate the game state every couple of minutes and continue to pose these very difficult questions to you and force their enemy team to make decisions all game long. Eventually, make a wrong choice, and they punish you heavily for it.
You can hear the chants of SKT coming out from the crowd. You know these Belgian fans wanted their European team to win, but recognizing greatness where it's due.
I mean, if there's one team to lose against as Origen in your first World Championship in the history of the team, because it only got created now, it may as well be a team that very well likely to win the entire tournament undefeated.
I mean, think about Origen as a team. The only best of 5s they've ever lost as a team, short as the history may be, SK Telecom T1 in the finals now, and Fnatic in the European LCS final, who may also be finals bound. That's a very, very good first year for Origen. And this is the first year of professional play for Niels, that AD carry, so he's got room to go. Peke, of course, Season 1 world champion, still has what it takes to play on this stage, but that will be the end of the year for these guys.
And it just shows you also just what teamwork and shot calling and just progression as a team can do, because these 4 members all, when they were playing EasyHoon at least, were all on SKT1S, back when SKT1K was like the team, so yeah, a lot of these members just getting under the wings of Coma with the good infrastructure there in the SK Telecom environment. Bang and Wolf significantly better, Faker being Faker obviously. And yeah, Martin really showing what a phenomenal top laner. Maybe the best player here at Worlds.
I think he's making the case for himself as a total package in terms of his ability to 1v1, win his lanes, and then what he brings to the team as the captain, as the primary shot caller. Martin is absolutely incredible.
I'm still waiting to even dive into the champion ocean of Faker as well. He keeps playing Rise here and showing that over and over and having good performances, but he hasn't even had to delve too deep into the bag yet.
Usually if one guy plays champion over and over, we're just like, narrow champion pool. But Faker, no. He played OAF, he can play anything. So interesting comparison right there.
I want to bring up actually a storyline that happened at All-Stars like a year and a half ago, back in Season 3. It was, I forget if it was Rapid Star or Ambition, but they played a bunch of Kennen games to make everyone think he wanted to play a lot of Kennen. And then by the end, it was like, it was just a fake, but I mean, I actually like Kennen now.
It was something they picked up at the tournament. And he was, and then
he's like, I want everyone to believe that when I get to the final, I really want to play Kennen to pull a ban. Like, this is theoretically like what Faker's Rise is. Like, it's not even his main champion. He's not even his final form right now. And Faker's like, no, I'm just this good. And he has been absolutely amazing. One game in this series, great performance. I mean, SKT is a team. You can't say enough about how good these guys are.
Yep.
I think we covered it.
Yeah, we covered it. I mean, I feel like I'm starting to repeat myself, but yeah.
Yeah.
One of the just impressive things, and we mentioned this a little before in the cast, is just these little things when you watch teams in the mid game in their base, pathing out of the base, zero hesitation. They always just go straight where they end up being. A lot of these teams that are still struggling shot calling, they're like, yeah, I'll go top. Oh no, should I go bot? Okay, I'll go bot then. Yeah, I need some help, jungler. Can you put some vision? SKT, this is all pre-planned like a minute or a minute and a half in advance. Usually when you see them play, we saw Origen put them to the test and punish them a little bit for some overextending, but so rarely do you see Wolf move into one lane and be like, this is actually the wrong place of the map. And as a support, that is just so impressive to watch because it is so incredibly hard to do.
Is it because every decision they make is the right decision, or just because they're like, you know what, I'm never changing my mind. Once I decide to go here, I'm never going to change my mind.
I don't know, man. I'm not questioning SKT. Probably the right decision.
As a macro team, they're absolutely amazing. We saw at least glimmers of weakness, things that teams could pick apart in the early game. First Blood and actually a couple of games here.
So I feel like they were calculated weakness, right?
Sure.
You're going to expose yourself when you play high pressure like that. But Origen did do a good job in game one, punishing them for those moments.
But the punishment wasn't enough. SKT always able to come back. The 3-0 win, absolutely deserved by these guys, and they are into the finals. And now we have Sjokz standing by with one of our first finalists for the 2015 World Championship. Let's take a look.
Thank you so much, guys. Standing by here with Bang after making it to the finals with his team SKT and a 3-0 over Origen. Bang, I want to start by talking about the series a little bit, and especially that matchup in the bottom lane against Niels, who is a very promising AD carry out of Europe. What did you make of the matchup? How do you think he did as well?
뱅 선수 우선 결승 진출 축하드리고요. 이번 경기의 전체적인 소감이랑 특히 이제 니엘 선수와의 원딜 맞대결을 좀 얘기해 주세요.
일단 저희가 8강에서 이기고 4강을 준비하면서 팀 분석을 했는데 오지에서 니엘 선수가 가장 잘한다는 평이 많아서 제가 좀 저만 잘하면 이길 것 같다고 생각했는데 이번 매치에서 좀 니엘 선수가 아주 생각보다 더 잘하더라고요. 그래서 좀 당황했는데 팀이 잘해줘서 쉽게 이긴 것 같아요.
So as we prepare for the semifinals, when we analyzed Origen's games, we thought that Niels was their best player. So I thought as long as I play good, then we should be able to win. But he played much better than I expected. And I think our team played very well, and we were able to get the win.
Well, of course, you guys pulled out the win 3-0. You also had a fantastic game. You're AD carry that's had fantastic statistics throughout the tournament, but you're maybe not as flashy as a Niels or maybe an Imp or a Deft. How do you reflect on your own play style, and why is it working within this team?
뱅 선수 이번 대회 내내 엄청난 경기 기록들, 뭐 KDA 같은 것들을 지금 보여주고 있는데, 근데 이제 상대한 니엘 선수나 뭐 이전에 데프트 선수, 임프 선수에 비해서 좀 덜 화려하거나 덜 주목받고 있는 지금 포지션인데, 그럼 뱅 선수는 본인의 이런 플레이 스타일에 대해 어떻게 생각하시나요?
일단 저희 팀 자체가 모든 라인이 좀 강력한 팀이어서 제가 이제 맡은 역할이 이제 안 죽는 역할인데, 그러니까 제가 마지막까지 죽지만 않으면 저희 팀 언제든지 이길 수 있다는 그런 팀 방침 때문에 일단 처음에 탑 미드의 중심으로 힘을 실어주다 보니까 근데 또 워낙 잘해서 거기서 게임이 자주 끝나서 제가 주목을 못 받게 되는 점이 많은 것 같아요. 경기 중에.
So I think our team in general, we have a lot of strong carry players, and like our team tend to focus on top and mid in the early game, and also our team color fits my style of like not dying. So I just try not to die. And if I survive until the end of the team fight, I think our team can win the game. So I think that's why I tend to get less attention from the fans and players.
Well, it definitely has caught our attention that you've been doing well. Your entire team undefeated so far, going into the finals as SKT. So let's talk about those possible finals. SKT versus Ku or Fnatic. Who would you like to play and why? And who do you think it's going to be and why?
그럼 이제 SKT는 이제 무패로 결승전에 진출하게 됐는데 내일 열린 경기에서 프나틱과 쿠 경기에서 누가 이길 것 같은지 그리고 왜 설명해 주시고요. 그리고 마지막으로는 누가 또 붙고 싶은지 또 그 왜 그런지 설명해 주세요.
일단 저희가 유럽에 와서 이제 가장 스크림을 많이 한 팀이 프나틱이거든요. 그래서 그리고 유럽이 이제 프나틱의 그 고향이기도 하고 해서 프나틱이랑 많이 연습도 했고 그래서 프나틱이 이겨서 저희랑 그러니까 한국 대 유럽으로 했으면 좋겠어요. 그래야 더 재밌을 것 같아요.
I think it would be more interesting if Fnatic advanced to the finals. After we came to Europe, we scrimmed with Fnatic the most. And so I think it would be much more interesting to see a European team at the finals, and that should be Fnatic.
Okay, well, we'll see if that happens tomorrow. But for now, that's a 3-0 for SKT. Congratulations. Fantastic match once again for SKT. They're going through to the finals, and I'd love to know what our guys at the Analyst desk have to say about that.
Thank you, Sjokz. Congratulations are in order indeed for the 3-0, extending their undefeated run here at Worlds so far and re-qualifying for the finals. I mean, I don't really know where to begin. Freak mentioned it in the post-game there. That was the style of game that we expect to see out of SKT, that we are used to seeing out of SKT. A very explosive game with a 4K gold lead at 17 minutes.
Well, you know, a lot of that has to do with the way that SKT plays around Faker when he comes back into the game. Even if he's on one of these big scaling mages, he is so willing to attack you, to go all in. And you have to play around that. You have to assume that he's going to do that. He sucks in so much jungle pressure. And even then, he was getting a 12-minute Rod of Ages on top of his tier, and he's scaling so well into the late game. that it becomes really, really hard to deal with him because of the amount of force he exerts at the center of the map.
See, and that's why I liked Faker over EasyHoon in this matchup. Is like the fights just happened a lot, and you could watch Faker like, yeah, he's just trading flash for flash mid because he has Ghost as a backup. Like, he put so much pressure on the game just by playing Ryze, who's technically a scaler, but who hits power spikes early. So that's where Faker can actually abuse things.
What a scaling champion.
It's so funny
Super
because that team composition by Origen was actually very similar to a team composition SKT ran a lot of in the LCK, and that basically has to win by 30 minutes. It lost at 27 minutes to SKT's scaling composition, and I think as we move on in this tournament, if SKT 3-0s the finals, I think they are indisputably the greatest team of all time.
That's a bold claim. We'll have to wait until the finals to see whether or not that claim holds true. Continuing, though, along this game just briefly, Origen, things did fall apart relatively quick for them, but we saw them make the adjustments that we had asked them to make. Switch champion picks up. We saw the Lee Sin come out. We saw Gnar, a slightly more passive, it's not quite Malphite, but slightly more passive and more straightforward champion, and yet things still didn't come together.
Well, the key around, like Jet just mentioned,
tilt.
Yeah, the tilt was the big issue, I think. But the key around running the Sivir Lulu combination, so you play it like a pick composition. You use the massive amount of speed that you have to set up around a dragon, play with vision, and then make picks. You will never, ever should be 5v5ing with that because you have such low damage in a team fight. And they never really got the chance to actually create the picks, to control the vision. And as soon as that happens, then you're going to lose that game very quickly.
And I think, like you were saying, they kind of changed their style. I think their style was the same. They still last picked their top. And I think the only reason we saw so much more focused top was because of Mithy. I think Mithy actually changed the game purposely. He was like, I'm not staying bot lane anymore. Like, Bang is not going to let me punish him anymore. Like, I'm just, screw this. I'm leaving this lane. So he ends up going top with Amazing, and they hold hands, and they get kills on Mar, and they put a lot of pressure on the map. And I think that is kind of the adaptation you need to make during game 1, during game 2 kind of thing. Instead of like building up until game 3, like, nah, we'll try it now.
Yeah, and I think it really showed both games 2 and 3 were completely changed with a disastrous move top lane by our team. That was SKT being prepared, but it was Origen committing to the play and failing.
Well, we'll get back to the series in just a moment, but for now, we're going to send it over to Sjokz, who is standing by with 2 members of Origen.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Standing by with Expeke and Mithy. And I mean, first off, I really want to thank you guys for talking to me because I know that it can't be easy in a moment like this. So maybe let's start by the series and get that out of the way because I feel like you're going to VOD review a lot of that. And especially maybe what happened between game 1, which was so close, and then what happened after, if you could reflect right now.
I was not listening to everything. I'm just going to say something else. Besides the interview, don't care much. I just want to say that it has been a really, really long year, to be honest. We have started from pretty much Challenger Series, and that I'm really, really happy that this is the team I ended up with because each player from us is a different world, and I'm really happy that we all work or put our best to work together, and from mistakes we try to improve, and I'm really happy from all of them, Mithy, Niels, Amazing, and so on. So thank you very much, guys.
Well,
To answer your question, I think that SKT is really good at punishing mistakes, and I think that the thing that failed on all games, even the first game, it was, I think at some point, shot calling was not perfect, and there was one mistake that was made, and they just capitalized on that mistake, and we were not really able to accept our mistake and like give someone up, but instead like just committed everyone to a mistake, and then they just snowballed out of it.
yeah, a very clear read of that game and that series, but I want to travel back to what Peke said. I said I wanted to get the series out of the way because in the end, what is to be remembered here is the fact that you guys were in Challenger a couple of months ago. You started this new project. Mithy came back to the professional scene. Just tell me about your year so far, because semi-final, you go out versus SKT, but you go out with a bang.
Yeah, so personally, I have been living a dream since we made it to playoffs. My main goal for this year was to get playoffs of the summer split, and then realistically, I thought like, okay, we're probably like gonna lose against H2K since they have been more established, and it just went on getting better and better and better. And I thought we were gonna never make it out of group stage. We did make it out of group stage, made it past quarterfinals, and even though I'm happy of how far we've made it, I'm still sad about how the way we lost, because I think SKT is very strong, but I still think we could have put up a better fight if just small things, you know. I don't know. I'm just a bit sad.
Of course, totally understandable. Well, of course, as said, once again, this has only been your first half a year with this formation. Pekka, anything you want to say as final words of you for closing off Worlds?
No, pretty much. That was it. Thanks to the teammates, and well, thanks to all the fans here that go crazy over us. Yeah, thanks. Well, Fnatic is still there, so let's cheer for them, and let's hope they make you proud. So good luck to Fnatic.
Some of that EU pride. Thank you guys so much for talking to me. That was it from Origen, and we're going to go back to the guys at the desk.
Thank you, Sjokz. Something that should not be forgotten is the journey that this team took. Mithy mentioned it. They went into the summer split hoping to make it to the playoffs, let alone finish second in the playoffs, let alone run through the gauntlet, make it to Worlds, and then end up being a top 4 team in the world in all the 6-month time. That is quite an accomplishment by these gentlemen.
Yeah, pretty damn impressive from Origen to go from that place to get here. And then, honestly, what Mithy said was pretty true. They played SKT tough in a lot of ways. They pushed SKT, even though they got 3-0'd, they pushed SKT harder than any other team that has played SKT up until this point.
Yeah. I would have liked to see more of Game 1, though. Like, the way Origen played Game 1, I feel like was Origen maybe like 85, 90%. The rest of the games, I think they're like sub 50% effort-wise. And I wish we saw Origen stay at that 90% level, where they would keep putting SKT on the back like repeatedly, and the games like aren't, you know, really snowballing from SKT's side.
I mean, I just disagree with you, because I think that when we talk about Origen, then we have to compare it to how they were playing and how they were getting leads throughout this entire tournament. So they were winning most of their games up until today, yet they were still below average in terms of gold. So, in fact, I think Origen played very well, and they overperformed my expectations in Game 1. Game 2 and 3 is more of what I expected to see from the team.
Yeah, things started to fall in line, but I think it's a very valid point. We had this trend developed by Origen where they were eking out these very long, you know, enduring victories, and then they came out swinging here in this best of 3 and really took it to SKT. Now, I think the question then is, was anything necessarily exposed in SKT moving forward that, you know, that whoever ends up facing them in the finals could learn from what Origen did?
Well, we learned that, that we have a Shen support player in Wolf. That was something that he's never done professionally before, but otherwise, for the most part, I have to say no. This is Fager's 4th game on Rise this tournament. One game he played Olaf, another Azir, and another Lulu. So we really haven't... He's just going to keep picking Rise until somebody stops him. Yeah. On the EasyHoon side, surprise, he plays Azir and Orianna. So they really didn't show anything in this best of 5, and they have, I think, an entire hand of cards for the finals.
If anything, and this is coming off me saying SKT may be the greatest team of all time, here's where there might be a weakness. Mithy just said in the interview, they're so good at punishing mistakes. Yes. And I think that is completely how SKT plays. Even when they're losing the game, they're still having a chance to win it somehow, because the instant you make a mistake, they're going to get you. But because they are so good at that, they actually don't make many proactive plays that give themselves the advantages. And when Origen was playing passive in games 1 and 2, up until the point they made the mistake by taking initiative, the game was close. So if a team actually executes those game-winning plays, waits until 20 or 30 minutes, gets it, maybe SKT doesn't win in that sense. I'm not saying it's going to happen, Monty. You can calm down.
But see this tie? It actually is armor, and there is no weak point in it. So you know, we got that going on.
So I hear it's actually vulnerable to brute force. Like if I had a Warhammer of some kind.
Yeah, or like 5,000 degrees of heat. Might melt it. I think then the question is, or what's scary about that statement really, is that you're basically asking every other team to beat SKT at their own game. Because you're saying that SKT is great at playing to a passive and standard way until the other team makes a proactive decision that is incorrect or in error, and then they capitalize on that.
I think we're getting a little theoretical here, but I think my point is you don't wait for SKT to make a mistake. You punish their passivity by making an uncounterable play.
Okay.
Right? You take the aggressive plays and execute them better than SKT.
Well, it's the weakness of playing a methodical style, is if 2 plays happen back-to-back, once the first play is done, you're setting up what you want to do. You're not really expecting any kind of guess plays or like sneak plays, kind of like how they did in game 1 when they dove Marin again at the tier 2 turret. They didn't really expect it. They're setting up the map for mid turret. They're setting up the map for bot turret. And then boom, they get hit top again, and they don't respond well to it because the whole time they're expecting, oh, we just lost something top. Let's go focus on the other side of the map. They won't stay top. So I think those like repeat plays are going to be really punishing, which is what Fnatic does really well. So I'm excited to see if that matchup, goes through in the finals.
Well, that's where you fall back to then the individual matchups themselves. If you were going to attack any other area of the game, you say, well, let us look at all these players individually. But again, we've seen in this series, Marin up a ridiculous amount of CS every single game, as well as a kill or 2 and experience of all things, right? You've seen EasyHoon just absorb all of the CS, and play the team fights incredibly well. Faker come in, as you mentioned, his Rise play, flashing and blowing flashes on the others. And Bang, I don't know how many missed positions we saw, if any, in this series from his end.
I think Wolf is the only player that I still felt a little disappointed about, especially in that last game. He was getting caught out a little over much, but by the same token, it seemed like every time Wolf died, SKT would get twice as many kills in response. So can you really say it's that bad, right?
Right, and that speaks to what the casters were talking about in the post-game about how often SKT can find themselves a winning fight in a turnaround, right? So they lose somebody early, but they are able to turn that 4v5 around into a 1 trade.
Well, they're very good, and the key to them doing this is that they keep track of ultimate and ability and summoner cooldown so well. So when an enemy team will dump everything on one player, for example, in that fight on the bottom side of the mid lane in the river, they still had Rumble ult up, and they just waited for everybody on Origen to pile into a choke, and then they just hit the trigger, come in with the Rise and the AoE, and clean up the play. So when you have such great in-game communication around cooldowns, it allows you to make those kind of decisions very effectively.
Well, as we talk about all the players on SKT, there was one player that stood out in particular and was absolutely clutch in SKT's win today over Origen, picking up 17 kills in 3 games while averaging a 91 CS lead over his lane opponent. Now, because of this performance, we're naming SKT's top laner, Marin, as our player of the series.
Yeah, and I think it's no coincidence that the teams that have had the top-performing top laners are the teams still at Worlds. We knew the meta was coming with the champion changes. The lane swap game has been so critical. It rewards team communication as well as having strong individual players, and SKT had all of those things in this 3-0.
Yep, there's a piece of you that wonders coming into the tournament which teams were these changes going to affect negatively and positively. And as you mentioned, for those reasons, SKT, a team that already can adapt to change pretty easily because they're veteran players who have a lot of experience. You look at Marin himself and how his mastery of the new champions that have come out, and that's the next level of it. Because there are some top players we haven't even seen pull out the Fiora and really threaten on it.
Yeah, probably you were saying something about Fiora earlier, how unless you're a master at Fiora, you just don't want to see someone playing.
Yeah, I compare Fiora top as like the Azir of mid lane. It's like a lot of people can play it like at a pretty meh level, but the second you see someone play it at like 90%, they look awful. They don't get the right vitals. They like repost weird skills like auto attacks. Like who cares about that thing? So when you see a really good Fiora player, it's really obvious. It's not something you just like brush over and you're like, oh yeah, everyone's like that. Same thing with Azir. So I really like those two kind of schools of champion, but I wish there was more like that in the game right now.
Well, that's a note for the designers then. Probably would like more of that. But with this champion, since we have determined that Fiora is such a power pick, we saw Smeb go nuts on it 4 games in a row. We've seen Marin with great showings on it. We haven't yet seen a foolproof solution to the champion in terms of a way to fight against it. And again, this returns us to pick and bans where we say there's so many power picks. How do you deal with it? There's still nothing out there yet.
Yeah, here is one problem about some of the recent champions. Like Fiora, for instance, we think, what are the weaknesses of Fiora? Well-placed crowd control. But a very well-played Fiora solves her own counterplay because she can repost the crowd control. That's why sometimes a well-played Fiora can win almost any matchup in her current iteration. So it adds to the list of champions that I think you have to trade. And that's literally all you get to do. Unless you're playing Fiora well, I think you have a hard time winning Worlds.
All right, well, one more time, we are going to head over to Sjokz, who is joined by one of the mid lane threats for SKT.
Thank you very much, Dash. Joined here by EasyHoon also for a word after that series and SKT making it to the finals. EasyHoon, you've got a lot more games under your belt now, and you, of course, were started as a famous substitute for Faker, but you've definitely proven your worth, and we've heard before that you really want to prove what you could do for SKT as a team. How do you think you've done in this matchup specifically and throughout the tournament?
그 이진 선수 이제 이전에는 페이커 선수의 후보 선수로 많이 알려졌지만 이번 4강도 그렇고 이번 대회 동안 많은 경기를 소화함으로써 점점 본인 가치를 입증하고 계신데 이전 인터뷰에서 이진 선수가 본인 가치를 더욱더 SKT에서 알리고 싶다고 얘기하셨는데 이번 4강전 그리고 이번 대회를 통해서 그걸 좀 달성하신 것 같은지 말씀해 주세요.
네, 제가 들어야 되나요?
아니, 너 안
글쎄요, 제가 개인적인 목표가 그 전에 조별 예선 때 저는 제가 나오는 경기를 모두 좀 완벽하게 수행한 거라고 말했는데 솔직히 오늘 경기까지 놓고 봐도 목표를 달성했다고 보진 않아요. 한 70% 정도는 만족하고 있긴 하지만.
So my previous goal during the group stage was to win every single game I play in. So far, even though I am fulfilling that goal, I think I'm up to like 70% of my goal.
Okay, well, you still have a final to play. It will be versus Fnatic or Ku. We heard from Bang that he thinks that Fnatic might be the one you end up playing against. What would you think would be a better matchup for you personally?
Maybe Ku will be better because we have known about Ku better than Fnatic. So yeah, I want to match with Ku.
Okie dokie, well, thank you so much. Congratulations for making it to the finals with SKT undefeated so far. Back to you guys, Dash.
I think that's the one last thing we have to consider with this team moving forward to the finals is their ability to play both of these players. And they've shown in this series here they can do it, and they can do it without losing a step. If anything, they gained a step, right? And they finished that third game out even faster. So a huge threat that teams are going to have to take into account when they go up against them in the finals.
I think so. I also hope SKT just starts Faker in the final because I do feel like it just gives them a stronger overall play. If they're really trying to pull some mind games, I think you put in EasyHoon for game one, and if you lose it, you play Faker for the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't play EasyHoon. He's a great player, but it's Faker we're talking about. I think that you have SK Telecom has so successfully shown nothing about Faker just by having him play old champions and bringing out this Rise mid pick that he has just crushed everybody on. So, you know, play Faker. You've saved him, and you've kept everything under a veil for the entire tournament so far. This is where you get the big reveal. And you pull the rabbit out of the hat, and everybody is amazed.
It's just a giant mystery at this point, and we have only a week to wait until it is unveiled. Earlier, we opened up our analyst to you, so let's check in and see what you wanted to ask the desk. From CJX, what is the best aspect of each region's meta that you've seen on display at Worlds? Who wants to take that one first?
I think that what we've seen from Europe is really a dominance of the European style of lane swapping at the World Championship. The way that you lane swap, fast push a tower 3, keep your jungler jungling, is something that was not done in Korea, and I can say that. And yet, as soon as we see after those boot camps and all the EU teams go over, that's the one that we see most frequently. So they had figured out something that was very effective, and I really like seeing that everyone else has adopted it and seems to think that's the best style.
Can you take credit for the European lane swapping, Prolly?
Yes, I did all of it. No.
It's actually the Prolly lane swap?
Yeah, it's actually the Prolly. That's what you call it. No, we copied a bit of it, and we changed a bit of it. But the best part is, yeah, when Europe went over to Korea, Koreans did steal ours. But they started doing their own, like, cheese gimmicks inside of this lane swap, which is really, really nice. We haven't seen it yet. Tomorrow, I hope we start seeing the Ku's iteration of lane swaps, because it's going to be different than the way Fnatic does it and the way Origen does it. So I'm really excited that the lane swap did start in Europe, I think, but it's still evolving through Korea and through Worlds.
Yeah.
For you, Jet?
I'm going to talk about Korea, and I think their ability to channel farm onto their top laners has been better than any other region. And this was the case before Worlds even hit. They have adapted within the lane swap meta to find ways to get even more farm into top laners. But before Worlds, the Korean top laners had higher gold share, more experience at 15 minutes than under other regions by far, and were generally already starting to play the farm-heavy style big top laners, and it just was shown even more powerfully at Worlds.
Well, and what happened too is we ended up with 3 Korean teams who have incredibly powerful carry top laners, right? And so when the meta just started to tilt on like 5.16 and 5.18 even more into the top lane style, I think it gave the Korean teams a very large advantage because they already were playing, these specific teams were already playing this style. If we'd seen a team like Jin Air, that really wouldn't be the case, right? So It's just these specific players, these specific teams.
Definitely fell as an advantage towards them. Next up, we have Trey1507, who says, what do you think will be the difference between these semifinal teams since they are all so closely matched? Obviously, we just saw SKT and Origen stack up against each other, but this is a nice transition to tomorrow's best of 5 series where we'll see Fnatic go up against KOO. Crowley, start us off. Thoughts on that
I don't know. The KOO Fnatic. I feel like there's going to be a lot of blood. A lot of blood will be spilled, and there will be no wards to be found at all. So I really hope that's something that's been fixed a bit, is there's going to be a lot more calculated plays tomorrow. I don't expect it, but I'd like to see that kind of change. And I think that's what's going to make the final be really nice, because SKT is really methodical. They do fight around vision. So going against two teams that don't really focus around that, I think is going to be a nice little change.
Something we saw from Fnatic against EDG is making very risky yet decisive decisions. And it ended up working for them a lot of times around the Baron area. What we saw from KOO in the semifinals was actually they let themselves get pushed around a lot early game by KT, put up very defensive wards, even within their own jungle, not even river defensive wards, and then reacted when a team overcommitted. So I think because of that dichotomy, we're going to see, like Probably said, really bloody games. When Fnatic engages, KOO will be ready, and they will fight.
I'm really excited for this matchup. I think it's just incredibly even. And I guess what I want to see is more of the KOO that we saw in the group stage with that bloodiness. I'm with you guys, but some more presence in the early game so that we get a lot of these fights and we don't just see the more passive, reactive play style of the KOO Tigers. I also am excited to see what KOO has because they have been very creative traditionally, and I think they will have some weird picks for tomorrow, some weird team compositions, because a lot of times the success of KOO has been born out of their innovation and their willingness to play off the meta, as opposed to having super, super strong teammates across the board.
Well, it'll only be 24 hours until we find any of that out. Now, with SK Telecom's victory in today's semifinal, we are one step closer to filling out our bracket and naming a champion. SK Telecom T1 has claimed the first seat in the 2015 finals, where they'll face the winner of tomorrow's clash between Europe's Fnatic and the KOO Tigers of Korea. And our pregame coverage of that best of 5 series begins tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. sharp. And since Central European summertime ends tonight, that's 6:30 a.m. Pacific. So change your clocks. Until then, we need to sign off and set our clocks back. But stick around, because in 15 minutes, myself, Kobe, and Monte Cristo will be here to look at all of today's action in a brand new Worlds Tonight. On behalf of myself and everyone working hard to bring you the 2015 League of Legends World Championship, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here at Brussels Expo tomorrow.
And here we go, game 1 of the semifinals. South Korea's SK Telecom T1 versus Europe's Origen. Running away through the wards, pops summoner teleport. It's a god! But the slicing Maelstrom buying a lot of time. 1-for-1 in this fight. Mithy gets a knockup onto Bang, and look at the damage output! Undefeated still in the World Championship. Peke, meanwhile, turned into an egg, and the push comes in. Oh! But Amazing is here! The two-man knockup trades onto Bang. SKT, 1 game away from their second World Championship final. Bangy's got aggro, Marin's got the damage. Channel to make sure it's all fine and dandy, even though he's not at the tournament, and a double kill for Marin. Flashing under his own turbo, Faker says, no thank you, I want this kill anyway. Make that 3 picked up. Oh, the long con 4v5. How about we push mid? How about they pick up Mithy as well? It's time for SKT to make it to the finals undefeated.